Chapter 108. Little Sister. No. Little sister couldn't be this young. Little sister wouldn't have such a frivolous and arrogant expression. He heard a young girl's light voice. Uncle, nice to meet you. I'm Gunan Chengsu's daughter. Nice to meet you, uncle. I'm Gunan Chengsu's daughter. This sentence seemed to have been played on a loop. It was even in surround sound. Cheng Song stared at Shisheng in a daze. She called him uncle. This was little sister's child? Cheng Song suddenly realized that he had lost his ability to speak. He had so many questions to ask, but when the words reached his mouth he couldn't say anything. With this appearance, this was definitely his little sister's child. She was practically a replica of his little sister. Are you really little Sue's daughter? Cheng Song squeezed out this sentence after a long time. His voice was trembling as he stared straight at her. Shisheng shrugged. There's nothing I can do if you don't believe me. Anyway, she didn't have a keepsake and couldn't do a paternity test. Whether Cheng Song believed her or not was up to him. Cheng Song. Weren't you the one who came to acknowledge your family? Why did you look like you didn't care? Cheng Song couldn't find any evidence at the moment, but if this was really his little sister's child, he couldn't just ignore it. And he believed that this was his little sister's child. Sometimes blood ties were such a wonderful thing. It could make two strangers feel strangely familiar. You're called Gunan? Cheng Song felt that this name was familiar, but he couldn't remember it at the moment. Little Sue was actually married and had a child. Did that mean? Cheng Song felt a surge of excitement in his heart. He looked at Shisheng with a fervent gaze. Yes. Shisheng nodded casually. My name and picture are hanging outside your base. With this reminder, Cheng Song immediately remembered. Wasn't the name of the person who was rumored to be very dangerous in B City, Gunan? The military was in charge of the base's security. Although he had the information, he didn't have the time to look at it. He had only heard this name from his subordinates. Cheng Song couldn't figure it out. How could this girl be a dangerous person? I never knew that Xiao Su had a child. Cheng Song mumbled to himself. He took a deep breath and looked at Shisheng. His voice trembled as he asked, Since you're Xiao Su's child, you must know where she is, right? Shisheng frowned slightly. Did this mean that the Cheng family did not know where Cheng Su had gone? Sure enough, Cheng Song didn't know where Cheng Su was. 17 years ago, she sent her last letter to the family, and then there was no news of her. All these years, the Cheng family had been looking for her, but there were no clues. Can I see the letter? Cheng Song hesitated for a moment, then walked to one side of the study, opened a secret compartment, took out the letter, and handed it to Shisheng. The letter was well preserved, which showed how much the Cheng family cared about Cheng Su. There was nothing special about the letter. It was just a normal letter from home, saying that she was doing well. But there were two words mentioned in the book. D County and Jinfeng Mountain. It was supposed to be a letter from home, but it said that the scenery of these two places was very good. Wasn't this very strange? Where is Jinfeng Mountain? Shisheng returned the letter to Cheng Song. It's a mountain near B City. Cheng Song smiled bitterly. We also noticed the difference between the two places, but the people we sent to investigate didn't find anything. Shisheng and Cheng Song chatted for a long time. She also showed the diary to Cheng Song. From Cheng Song, she learned that Cheng Su studied genetic research. From the time recorded in the diary, the Cheng family had no idea that she had returned to China. Because there would be letters from abroad every once in a while, the Cheng family had no idea that Cheng Su had returned to China. The Cheng family also had no idea about the man recorded in Cheng Su's diary. The Cheng family received an anonymous letter before the start of the apocalypse, which mentioned that the apocalypse was about to begin. At first, the Cheng family thought that it was a prank. But later, the points mentioned in the letter were confirmed one by one. Adhering to the principle of believing in the letter, the Cheng family mobilized available funds and began to collect supplies. The other families had their own sources of information. The Cheng family's actions seemed to have confirmed their information. Therefore, these people had hoarded a large amount of supplies before the apocalypse began. Shisheng refused Cheng Song's invitation to stay and left with Qianli. After Shisheng left, Cheng Song stared at the last letter that Cheng Su sent back for a long time. He heaved a heavy sigh, picked up the phone on the table, and dialed. Find me information on Jinfeng Mountain. Time. The sooner the better. Give it to me as soon as possible. Shisheng didn't leave the base immediately. Instead, he stayed for a while. Qianli didn't understand what he was doing, and often asked him questions out of curiosity. Shisheng would occasionally explain to him patiently, but most of the time, he would use the iron sword to threaten him not to talk too much. The Beijing base's network was very easy to hack. Shisheng packaged all the research materials, regardless of whether they were useful or not. Then he found a place to read the materials. There was a lot of information. Shisheng looked through it day and night before he finally found something useful. It was a research institute that belonged to the country. There was an encrypted document mixed in with some normal reports. He didn't know if it wasn't discovered or if someone did it on purpose. There were many photos in the document. It was the place where the strange crystal coffin was unearthed. The crystal coffin was placed vertically in the ground. He could vaguely see a human figure inside. Shisheng turned around and looked at Qianli. It couldn't be this guy, right? Other than the photos, there were also various reports about the crystal coffin. Shisheng looked carefully at a genetic report. Not only did it mention Cheng Su's name, it also mentioned the strange corpse that Cheng Su had mentioned. He is like a sleeping spirit, beautiful and holy, immortal and immortal. The spirit will awaken sooner or later. He will bring the dawn of a new world. He is the terminator of the old world. We are about to welcome the creator of the new world. The words spirit, new world, and old world were repeatedly mentioned in the report. Shisheng carefully read it a few times and picked out a few useful pieces of information. The corpse that Cheng Su had mentioned had special genetic cells. They would not age. The corpse had no signs of life, but they were still alive. So the research institute began to study the corpse's genetic cells. However, there was one person who wanted to revive the corpse in a crazy way. As a result, the experiment was forced to stop and all the information was sealed. If someone saw this information, it meant that the new world and the old world had already begun. Humans would evolve and become a higher existence. Humans who failed to evolve would be abandoned by the new world. Are you ready? This was written at the end of the report. Shisheng read it a few times. Shisheng turned to look at Qianli. The youth was playing with the PSP in his hand, looking like he was having a lot of fun. What was this boss's setting? 1,000-year undead king? An alien creature? The system's side quest was too difficult. I can't do it. Asterisk recommendation votes 1800 plus 1 next update 2200. Chapter 109. Shisheng left Beijing base and rushed to B City with a group of zombies. She thought that she would stay in Beijing base for a long time. Who knew that she would be done so quickly? She thought that it would be simple. Who knew that it would be so complicated? Therefore, Shisheng decided to go to her target first. Zombie Empire. When she took over this world, she would interrogate them one by one. She would definitely find out the truth. Therefore, Shisheng's methods were always simple and crude. When she returned to B City, her 3 subordinates had just finished building the base. When Shisheng returned, they were all in disbelief. Boss actually came back so quickly? Although they didn't see the scene when Boss came out of B City, they were excited just thinking about it. Thinking about it this way, zombies weren't that scary. There were already people in the base. However, there were only 100 or so people. It was really pitiful. Therefore, when Shisheng let the zombie army into the base, those 100 or so people didn't even dare to make a sound. With the zombie army building the base, a large base was built in just a few days. Those 100 or so people went from being shocked at the beginning to being scared to slowly accepting it. Therefore, these 100 or so people became primitive humans who came to fight against the base. Of course, they would also be the only group of humans in this base in the future. After a long time, they would feel lucky to have joined the base. Shisheng didn't accept humans into the base. He only wanted zombies. Qingyu and the others didn't know what Shisheng wanted to do. They could only follow Shisheng's orders. Shisheng's base was expanding like a raging fire. Zombies kept gathering. In B City, Qimingxue and the others didn't have it easy. They were first locked up. Songshur tried to escape, but he couldn't save Qi Mingxue in time. Or maybe Songshur didn't want to save her. Before Songshur fell in love with Qi Mingxue, he was a very righteous person. Qi Mingxue was only locked up because of her so-called healing ability. However, no matter how those people tried to force her to confess, Qi Mingxue didn't use her ability in front of them. Is she still the same? The mayor looked at Chang Xian. Chang Xian nodded. I won't say anything, and I won't use my powers either. The mayor frowned and pondered for a moment. Find a few vision ability users and take her to a room without surveillance. Chang Xian's expression was a little ugly. The district head looked up at him. Chang Xian, since you're already here, you can't leave. Do your job well. We won't mistreat your family. Yes. Qi Mingxue was transferred to a room without surveillance. At first, someone would bring her food, but the portion was very small. It was not enough for her to eat. Towards the end, there were fewer and fewer. In the end, he didn't even bother to send him off. Qi Mingxue checked that there were no surveillance cameras in the room. She took out some food from the space and wolfed it down. Qi Mingxue spent the next few days like this. After eating and drinking to her heart's content, she began to think about escaping. Other than the door, the room was completely sealed. The food was brought in through a window under the door, so if she wanted to leave, she had to go out through the door. Qi Mingxue carefully thought about the steps to escape. However, before she could carry out her plan, a group of people broke in. As soon as they saw her, they injected her with anesthesia. When she woke up again, she found herself tied to an operating table. Some people in white coats were walking around in front of her. Where was she? Qi Mingxue turned her head to look, and suddenly met a pair of smiling eyes. Was that the district head? The district head walked up to Qi Mingxue and said in a gentle voice like a loving father, "Little girl, you're awake. What are you trying to do?" Qi Mingxue finally felt a trace of panic in her heart. She didn't need to be afraid of these people because she had the space. But what if this was the district head? And the district head wasn't a good person in the original novel. Little girl, don't be afraid. The district head smiled even more kindly. You have a space with you, right? How big is it? Can you tell me? Don't worry, I won't hurt you. You have to know that your space is very important to us. You will be a hero who saves mankind in the future. The more Qi Mingxue listened, the more frightened she became. How did he know? I don't understand what you are talking about. Where is this place? Why did you kidnap me? Qi Mingxue couldn't admit it. She knew that a treasure would arouse the envy of others. Even in the original novel, Gunan didn't dare to talk about the space casually. The district head waved his hand, and a man in a white coat came up with a tray. There was a bottle of water and a few small items on it. Qi Mingxue's eyes narrowed when she saw the items. She panicked even more. That was the item in her space. But why was it outside? Little girl, you should be familiar with it, right? You took out these items yourself. Do you want to see the video? Someone immediately placed a tablet in front of Qi Mingxue. In the video, she was still tied up and someone was hypnotizing her. Then she saw herself taking out the items. No. Qi Mingxue kept shaking her head. The district head looked at Qi Mingxue with a smile, but his eyes were full of malice. If they could find the medium of the space, he wouldn't have kept this woman alive. Qi Mingxue was very noisy at the beginning. She even wanted to run away, but this place was too big for her to run away. She seemed to have been brainwashed and listened to the district head's words. Since the district head already knew that she had the space and the magical spring, she wasn't stingy. She would give him whatever he wanted, especially the magical spring water. She would give him as much as he wanted. After hearing what Shisheng said that day, she asked the spirit of the space. It was okay for her to use the magical spring water, but if others used it, it would attract more zombies in the wild. Didn't the district head want it? She would give it to them as long as they were alive. The district head found that more and more people were dying outside. At first, he thought that the zombies had become more powerful. But later he found out that it wasn't the case. Only the people he gave the magical spring water to died. Qi Mingxue. The district head kicked open the door of Qi Mingxue's room angrily. Qi Mingxue was changing her clothes. Her snow-white body was exposed to the district head. She quickly wrapped the bedsheet around her body and said calmly, "District head, what's the matter?" The district head narrowed his eyes. "Did you add something to the water you gave me?" It seemed that those who drank the magical spring water were in trouble. Qi Mingxue was a little agitated, but she didn't show it on her face. "Every time I give you water, you only take it away after I drink it. If I add something in it, I should be the first one to suffer." The water was taken from Qi Mingxue's space. The district head couldn't give it to his people. So every time Qi Mingxue drank it first, the district head would take it away. The district head wasn't easy to fool. "You and I will leave the safe zone tomorrow." Chapter 110. Early the next morning, the mayor asked his men to prepare a team to take Qi Mingxue out of the city. Half of the people in the team had drunk the spring water, and the other half hadn't. When encountering zombies, those who had drunk the spring water were more attractive to zombies than those who hadn't. The mayor looked at Qi Mingxue with an oppressive gaze. Qi Mingxue panicked, but her desire to escape supported her. She couldn't back down. "Qi Mingxue, shouldn't you explain?" Qi Mingxue plucked up her courage and said, "I don't know what's going on." Slap. The mayor slapped Qi Mingxue's face and said, "You don't know what's going on with your stuff? Did you do it on purpose?" At the end of his words, the mayor grabbed her hair and pressed her against the car's glass. Her face was pressed against the glass, and the shape of her face was distorted. Qi Mingxue was in pain. She said with difficulty, "I really don't know." The mayor dragged Qi Mingxue out of the car and threw her into the crowd of zombies. Qi Mingxue's superpower wasn't bad. The mayor was sure that she wouldn't die, but he didn't expect that Qi Mingxue didn't resist at all. She was surrounded by several zombies. Soon her figure disappeared. The mayor hurriedly ordered his men to kill the zombies, but there was no trace of Qi Mingxue. Qi Mingxue had been waiting for this opportunity for a long time. She could also enter her space. She didn't use it when she was in B City's safe zone. Even if she entered the space, she wasn't sure that she could get out of the tightly guarded laboratory. But it was different outside. She had a lot of things in her space. She didn't believe that these people could still guard here. When they left, she would be free. She must take revenge for this. The Shisheng's base was in full swing. Because they didn't accept humans, not many people knew about it. The people who stayed at the beginning were all assigned jobs. Because zombies weren't smart, every important person was accompanied by a level 4 zombie. Every time they saw a zombie following a human, some people felt that it was ridiculous. But when he turned around and saw the dull zombie beside him, he felt even more ridiculous. They communicated with the level 4 zombies, and then the level 4 zombies passed on orders to the other zombies. Zombies were actually easier to manage than humans. No zombies would stand out to express their dissatisfaction, and all of them would give their opinions at once. "Have you seen boss?" Qin Yu grabbed Lin Feng, who was rushing over. Ever since the base was built, they had been so busy that they were going crazy. His boss, on the other hand, would disappear after giving out orders. Lin Feng wiped his sweat and said, "No. Are you with my sister-in-law again? They always like to go to the tower in the north of the base. You should go and take a look. I can't talk to you anymore. I'm busy here." Lin Feng ran away with the 2 zombies. Qin Yu could only search in the direction of the tower. This tower was the tallest building in the area. It had been here since before the base was built. After climbing up the tower, she saw Shisheng and Qianli. Qianli sat upright as he recited the 3-character classic with perfect articulation. The beginning of man one's nature is good sexual similarity Shi Xiang Yuan. One does not learn not suitable, one does not learn what does one do? One does not cut jade. Boss. Qin Yu went around Qianli and called out. Qianli, who was sitting just a moment ago, suddenly stood in front of him. Qin Yu. Qin Yu silently took a few steps back. Qianli did not like them to get too close to his boss. Qianli disappeared in the blink of an eye, and then the sound of reciting the 3-character classic came from behind him. Spring and summer, autumn and winter, 4 seasons, endless luck. What's the matter? Shisheng looked up and picked up the documents on the ground. Ah, Yes, 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 there's a zombie wave in B City. Qingyu hurriedly said. We estimated that B City would not be able to hold on. There are already people moving. Zombie wave. At this time. It was still a little early. Where are they coming from? Qingyu's expression became strange. From all directions. Shisheng. What the hell did he mean by all directions? If they were coming from all directions, how could the people of B City escape? Now that the zombie animals had come out, and the sky was filled with zombie birds, even helicopters were useless. Shisheng brought Qianli out to watch the destruction of B City, and at the same time to take in some zombie underlings. Nan hungry. Qianli suddenly grabbed Shisheng's hand and stuffed it into his mouth, and his body stopped. All you know is to eat. Shisheng glared at him. Qianli revealed a pure smile, and the tip of his tongue kept circling around her fingertips. It was cold, and had a refreshing feeling. The level 5 zombie was now a level 6 zombie, and his skin was already light green. For convenience, Shisheng usually called him Little 5. Little 5 also came in front of Shisheng, and Qianli lifted his leg to kick him. Little 5 nimbly dodged and jumped to the other side of Shisheng. Ever since he ate Shisheng's superpower, Little 5 did not crave other food, and waited for Shisheng to feed him every day. Shisheng fed Little 5 some superpower, and Little 5 happily walked to the back to show off. Zombies communicated with each other, and they knew how to show off, be angry, and be happy. They did not only know how to eat. Seeing Little 5 being chased by a group of zombies, Shisheng was in a good mood, and when he fed Qianli, he gave him more food than usual. Roar, roar, roar! Little 5 suddenly ran back, baring his fangs and brandishing his claws. The zombies behind were also a little chaotic. The zombies she brought this time were all level 3 and above, and there were not many of them, only about 20 of them. If there was a real fight, they could easily summon their underlings. Shisheng looked at Qianli in confusion. Qianli licked his lips. It said that there are zombies over there. What was so strange about zombies? It was strange that there were humans. Wait, zombies? It was not an ordinary zombie that could cause a group of level 3 zombies to panic. Level 7. Qianli spat out 2 words. Level 7. Little 5's superpower had not reached level 7 after eating her, so where did this level 7 zombie come from? Roar, roar. The zombies behind them roared even louder, and then all sorts of superpowers appeared. Shisheng stood at the back and could only see the direction of the attacks, but not the target. It was only when a few zombies fell that she saw that it was a little zombie, about 7 or 8 years old. His skin was not green but white. He looked like the first time she met Qianli. His superpower was ice, and he was very fast. The little zombie seemed to have seen Shisheng, and rushed straight at her. Shisheng frowned slightly, and went forward with his iron sword. A trace of excitement flashed in the little zombie's eyes, and the number of icicles in his hand increased, and he shot them at Shisheng. The iron sword cut into the icicles formed by the little zombie. Kacha! Kacha! The force of the rebound made Shisheng's hand numb. Was this zombie really level 7? Damn, it was twice as strong as a level 6 zombie. Chapter 111. The little zombie didn't care about other people's attacks, and only aimed at her. It was like, plunder. I knew it. That stupid superpower will cause trouble sooner or later. Shisheng swung his iron sword and looked at the little zombie with a fierce look. After killing the little zombie, Shisheng's hands were almost broken. If she had encountered 2 7th-stage zombies, Shisheng felt like she would only be beaten up if she fought them like this. Xiaowu dug out the little zombie's nucleus and gave it to Shisheng. She hadn't seen level 6 nuclei yet, but she had seen level 5 nuclei, which were much brighter than level 4 nuclei. However, level 7 nuclei were translucent and hazy. She could absorb the nuclei, but it didn't work. She could only rely on her superpower to improve it. She thought for a moment and gave the nucleus to the white tiger. Xiaowu had her superpower to feed it, so it didn't need the nuclei. Meow. Master is the best. The white tiger rubbed Shisheng's neck intimately. Shisheng pulled it off, and threw it to Xiaowu behind him. Xiaowu didn't catch it and only caught the white tiger's tail. The white tiger screamed and turned around to claw at Xiaowu. Then there was a series of cat meows and zombie growls. Sheng was a little sad to lose a few zombies. They were all high-level superpowered zombies. When Sheng arrived at the safe zone of B City, the zombie flood had already begun. An army of black zombies rushed toward the safe zone. Some people on the wall of the safe zone were still fighting, but soon they were killed by the superpowered zombies that jumped on the wall. Those who were killed by zombies would turn into zombies in a short time. Therefore, when those superpowered people got up again, they had already turned into zombies and started to attack their own kind. Roar! The zombies behind Sheng looked impatient and kept roaring at the safe zone. What's wrong with them? They said there's a nice smell over there. Sheng's heart skipped a beat. A nice smell? Could it be the spring water of the heroine? B City's safe zone quickly fell into the enemy's hands. Those who could escape escaped, and those who couldn't became zombies. Can you control so many zombies now? Sheng asked Qianli thoughtfully. Yes. Let's get to work and contribute to our empire. A beautiful life awaits us. Sheng patted Qianli on the shoulder. As expected of the future zombie emperor, the fall of B City's safe zone had put several large bases in danger. If this continues, the zombies will take over the Earth sooner or later. However, they didn't know that the Sheng had already let zombies take over the Earth. When they received the news that humans were leading zombies to attack the city, it was already a year and a half after the apocalypse. At that time, the Sheng had already taken over half of the country. Next up were a few large bases. The old man who had participated in the experiment revealed a shocked expression when he saw Qianli. Qianli was the corpse they had studied before. He really came back to life. From that person, Sheng knew that the fetus in Chengsu's womb had been injected with Qianli's genes. The fetus was the only thing that could bear his genes. But when they were waiting for the results of the experiment, Chengsu ran away. Soon after, Qianli and the leader who had started the experiment also disappeared. Qianli wasn't there, but they preserved some of his genes and injected them into some of the fetuses. These fetuses grew up healthily, but not long before the apocalypse, they went out of control, and a few of their targets went missing. Then the apocalypse broke out. They realized that it might be related to their experiment, so they quickly retreated. They took all the information they could and destroyed everything they couldn't. According to that person, the leader had a special relationship with Chengsu. That person was called Mo1. Mo1. She remembered that the document she had seen before was signed by Mo*. Please vote, vote. Come, don't pity me. I'm a delicate flower. Give it all to me. 2,200 recommendation votes plus updates. Chapter 112. From what those people said, all the evidence pointed to MT Golden Wasp. Chung Song also found out about the early days of MT Golden Wasp. That mountain had been bought a long time ago, and they could no longer find out who the buyer was. But one thing was for sure, it was not official. Sheng took care of everything and led a zombie army to MT Golden Wasp. MT Golden Wasp looked like a phoenix, which was why it was named Wasp. Looking down from above, Sheng felt that it looked familiar. She had Qianli bring her to a few different locations. Finally, Qianli teleported her to a cave. Looking out of the cave, Sheng remembered that this was the place where she met Qianli after being ambushed by Qi Mingxue. Qianli, you know what's around here, right? Qianli had disappeared with Mo1 and appeared at MT Golden Wasp that Chengsu mentioned. He might have been here all along. Qianli smiled innocently as he stared straight at Sheng's hand. He was just short of saying that he wanted to eat. Sheng was speechless. How could he still think about eating in such a serious situation? I can't wait, let's eat then. After eating his fill, the giant zombie king brought Sheng to a spacious place. This should be an abandoned lab. There were many lab equipment around. What is this place? MT Golden Wasp? The place where I live. Qianli said slowly. Then he pulled her hand and led her to a tunnel in the distance. His voice was filled with confusion. There used to be many people here. I don't know why they're all gone now. Qianli was very familiar with this place. He quickly brought her around the entire base. There was a lot of dust here. It looked like no one had been here for a long time. Some places were still in a mess. This meant that they had left in a hurry. No, it should be said that they were running for their lives. Shisheng checked the entire base. Finally, he found a letter in a room. Her name was written on the cover of the letter. To Gunan. Hello Gunan. I am your father, Emowen. The fact that you can see this letter means that you've been with it for a long time. You are indeed different. No matter why you're investigating this matter, you have to believe that the arrival of the new world is the true salvation. The whole letter was very official, but the explanation was very clear. Back then, the person who was called crazy by the laboratory was his father, and he inherited his father's last wish. After returning from his studies, he successfully restarted the project. Injecting the gene into Cheng-Su was an accident, but it was also that accident that allowed him to discover that Qianli's gene would not reject a baby. This discovery made everyone in the laboratory very happy. But then, someone from the top came down to take over the project. Emowen loved Cheng-Su. He knew what Cheng-Su would face if he handed her over to them. Therefore, he had arranged for everything to happen. Before the higher-ups arrived, he would send Cheng-Su out before taking Qianli away. His father had set up a laboratory at MT Golden Wasp a long time ago. He brought Cheng-Su to MT Golden Wasp to continue his research. However, Cheng-Su was a little afraid that her child would be hurt, so she ran away when he wasn't paying attention. She gave birth to the child and sent it to the Gu family. After that, she didn't return to the laboratory. Emowen only found Cheng-Su a few years later. At that time, Cheng-Su was completely crazy. After investigating for a long time, he found out that Cheng-Su was captured when she was about to return home after sending the child. Those people brought her back to the laboratory and wanted to interrogate her about her and Qianli's whereabouts. Emowen said. He left with Cheng-Su to a faraway place. He had already completed the task his father had given him. At the end of the letter was Qianli's information. Shisheng paid attention to the date he woke up. It was actually the same date as Gunan's birth. After Qianli woke up, he did not attack anyone and did not need to eat. He just stared blankly in one direction. Her strange ability was probably related to Qianli. After Emowen's team discovered this, they went from being cautious at first to allowing him to wander around the laboratory. From the letter, she could tell that Emowen's experiments were different from the ones she saw in D County. There were no white rats here. Their experiments all revolved around Qianli, but under the premise that they did not harm him. Is the mission considered complete? Shisheng asked the system. Complete. The system paused. Do you still want to do a side mission? No. One side mission already made I so miserable. If there was another, I did not want to live anymore. It's about Qianli. The system did not give up. I don't want to do anything about the emperor. She did not want to delve into Qianli's background at all. It meant a series of troubles, and she needed to use her brain. Once she went out to clean up, the hidden mission would be considered complete. As for the main mission, wasn't it easy for her to find someone now? In the autumn of the second year of the apocalypse, the zombie empire was officially established. Half of the country was occupied by zombies, and they began to rebuild the destroyed cities. As for the humans, they were exiled to the western region. This was a highland area. The zombies did not seem to like this place, so it was given to the humans. There were only about 1 million humans in total. It was not even a fraction of the zombies. At this time, they were still very divided and had their own small groups. Therefore, the population of 1 million continued to shrink. Those bastards still think that it's their world. They are still so arrogant. F***ck. It's their fault for having resources and weapons. Someone sighed. If you ask me, it's all because of Gunan. Her zombie army doesn't eat, but she kept those resources and didn't allow us to take them away. Boss, how do you think Gunan controlled those zombies? Controlling zombies was something that they did not even dare to think about in the past. Who knows if that bitch and those zombies added $. Boss, what does it feel like to do that with zombies? If you want to know, why don't you go and try it yourself? The people around him laughed. The woman who had been sitting in the corner suddenly raised her head and looked at the person who asked the question. There is a young man beside Gunan. That young man is a zombie emperor. Gunan only needs to control that young man to control all the zombies. The moment the woman said that, the surroundings quietened down. Countless eyes looked at her. The woman did not wear much clothes. Although she looked disheveled, her face was very eye-catching. Qi Mingxue, is what you said true? The boss looked at the woman with sharp eyes. Qi Mingxue smiled. Her smile was charming, but her eyes were full of disdain and disgust. Gunan brings him with her wherever she goes. Didn't you notice that the zombies are more afraid of that young man than Gunan? Jiaguan. Chapter 113. Hearing Qi Mingxue's words, the group of people's blood immediately boiled. If they could capture that zombie emperor, did that mean they could also become kings in this world? Qi Mingxue sneered at the group of people who were excitedly discussing. They didn't even consider that Gunan had so many high-level zombies by her side. Wanting to get close to her and kidnap a zombie emperor was simply a pipe dream. However, these people could cover for her. She wanted to kill Gunan. Probably because there wasn't much to look forward to. The number of people who were persuaded by the boss to join wasn't small. Over 1,000 people walked out of the base in a grandiose manner. Where are you guys going? The gatekeeper asked dutifully. We're going outside to collect some supplies. This was the answer they had thought of long ago. As expected, the gatekeeper didn't ask any more questions. After asking for the number of people and registering the person in charge, he let them out. As soon as they left the base, they met Song Shi and his people who were bringing supplies back. This wasn't the first time Qi Mingxue saw Song Shi, but it was the first time she saw him face to face. At first, Song Shi didn't recognize Qi Mingxue. She had changed a lot. She was prettier than before, and her clothes were bolder. From afar, she was a stunner. He had always heard that Boss Lu had an especially beautiful woman. He didn't expect it to be her. Big brother Song, what's wrong? Is she your friend? A cute girl beside Song Shi asked curiously. Song Shi turned around and smiled. His tone was gentle. No, she just looks a little like a friend of mine. The girl made an "oh" sound, then turned around and said with a smile. Big brother Song, I can go with you today. Qi Mingxue didn't listen to the rest of the words. She walked past them expressionlessly, but inside, she was going crazy with jealousy. Song Shi had never spoken to her in such a gentle manner. However, she quickly adjusted her mindset. She wanted to get revenge on Gunan. When she stood at the top, she could have any man she wanted. Why would she care about Song Shi? Song Shi looked at the group of people and felt it was a little strange. He walked over to the gatekeeper and asked, Where are they going? They said they're going outside to collect supplies. Song Shi saw that those people didn't look like they were there to collect supplies. They looked so excited that it was as if they had been injected with chicken blood. The western region was barren to begin with, and Gunan had sent zombies to build a wall to prevent them from entering the Empire's territory. So the places where they could gather supplies were actually very limited. Every time they went out, they would look miserable, unlike them. When Song Shi returned to the base, he found out that they were going to kidnap the zombie emperor. Previously, in order to recruit experts, Big Boss Lu had told a few people about this matter. Song Shi's people had also been recruited by Big Boss Lu, so they naturally knew. Boss, aren't they courting death? How many high-level zombies did Gunan have? That zombie emperor isn't that easy to catch. If they want to die, we can't stop them. We'll leave this place in a few days, Song Shi said after some consideration. Why, boss? Where can we go if we leave? There was only so much space for humans to live in. Song Shi said, Let's go find Gunan. Ah, but she didn't accept our defection before. Although she didn't completely exterminate the humans. Song Shi's expression was serious. But this time, they went to provoke her. I'm afraid we won't be able to keep this place. Song Shi analyzed the situation for them one by one, and in the end, they all agreed with Song Shi's decision. From the looks of it, Gunan's side was the only way out. When Qi Mingxue entered the Empire's territory, she realized that they were too naive. The zombies here evolved very quickly, and the ones they encountered were all level 5 and above. Right now, level 5 zombies might not be much to humans, but what if you encountered a group of them? I'm afraid we'll become one of them before we even find Gunan. I think we should go back. Someone started thinking about retreating. They had only been in the Empire's territory for 2 days, and they had already lost half of their people. Qi Mingxue sat on the side, feeling a little annoyed that she had miscalculated the situation. In the books she had read, the highest level zombies in this era were only level 8, and most normal zombies were level 4. But right now level 5 zombies were everywhere. Qi Mingxue thought for a while, then took out some spirit spring water and distributed it to those people. We're already here, and we've already lost so many people. If we go back now, wouldn't their sacrifice be in vain? This spirit spring water is enough to raise your abilities. We'll definitely be able to get it. At the mention of spirit spring water, the eyes of those who were initially discouraged lit up, and some even revealed greedy looks. The water was sweet and delicious, even better than some drinks before the apocalypse. Drinking it could quickly restore one's abilities and eliminate fatigue. Some even drank it to level up. Qi Mingxue pretended not to see the greed in those people's eyes. After she killed Gunan, these people. Mingxue, come here, Boss Lu shouted at Qi Mingxue. Qi Mingxue frowned slightly, and walked over unwillingly. Boss Lu. Come sit. Mingxue, you haven't eaten yet, right? I saved this especially for you. Hurry up and eat. Boss Lu sized her up with a lustful look. He had wanted this woman for a long time, but unfortunately, she never took the bait. She was still weak. He could only look at her to satisfy his craving. Thank you for your kindness, Boss Lu. I'm not hungry yet. Boss Lu is going to kill zombies later. Boss Lu should eat. Qi Mingxue was disgusted, but she still replied with a smile. The two of them went back and forth, and Boss Lu didn't take advantage of her at all. After talking for a while, Qi Mingxue left and walked to the other side. Puffed, who knows how many men this bitch has seduced. She still dares to be pretentious in front of I. Boss, don't be angry. She has a lot of things on her. We still need her. The people beside him immediately comforted Boss Lu. Boss, this is actually very simple. Wait for us to find a chance. Then, won't her things be yours? The person who spoke gave Boss Lu a, you know what I mean expression. Boss Lu immediately understood and patted his shoulder approvingly. The group walked and stopped. Although they had the support of Qi Mingxue's space, there were only about 100 people left when they reached the Shisheng base. Every time they wanted to retreat, Qi Mingxue would brainwash them by saying that they had already come this far, and it was not worth it to retreat now. Some people walked here muddle-headedly. Seeing the base, these people were a little dazed. Was this really the end of the world? They didn't transmigrate, right? The city wall in front of them was grand and magnificent. It didn't have a modern aura. Instead, it looked more like an ancient castle from the Middle Ages. Zombies in uniform stood on the city wall, looking at the people who looked exactly like humans from afar. It was very quiet under the city wall. No one went in or out. Asterisk recommendation votes 2,200 plus more. Although it's not here yet, it should be here. I've already added more chapters. It's unreasonable for you guys to not vote. Chapter 114. Right now, a few of the zombies around Shisheng had recovered their human memories, but they still looked different from humans. Perhaps after a few more evolutions, they would look the same as humans. After recovering their human memories, these zombies naturally wouldn't dress sloppily. They all changed into clean clothes. The first zombies to recover their memories were of higher levels. These zombies were all under the management of Qingyu and the other two. They were also the first to join the core of the 100-people management team. They were currently busy restoring water, electricity, and transportation. The meeting room was often filled with people the entire day. When Shisheng brought Qianli in, Qingyu had just finished a meeting. He was originally a rather handsome young man, but now he looked unkempt, as if he hadn't slept for several days. Boss Emperor. Seeing Shisheng, Qingyu was shocked. When did you come back, boss? Is everything done? Shisheng looked around. Yep, it's almost done. How's this place? To be honest, it's not good. Qingyu rubbed the space between her eyebrows. After all, the number of zombies that have recovered their memories is a small minority. Right now, our empire is so large that we need a lot of management personnel. With our team of less than 200 people, not having any problems is already the limit. Even I want to split myself into several parts. If it weren't for the high-level zombies being suppressed by Qianli, the low-level zombies wouldn't know how to rebel. Even little Fatty, that glutton, had lost a lot of weight recently. If that's the case, then I'll go to the west and get some people back. At first, she thought that people would be troublesome, but she didn't think that the empire would need people to manage it. Speaking of the west, there are zombies reporting that 2 groups of people came in. The first group should be outside already. Boss, how do you want to deal with them? Shisheng raised his eyebrows. Who's so awesome? She had deployed the most zombies in the west. To be able to pass through the heavy defenses and come here, they must have some ability. It should be Qimingxue. I heard from the zombies monitoring them that they have a very attractive scent. Qingyu said. Shisheng had told them a long time ago that if the zombies felt something attractive, it must be Qimingxue. They've delivered themselves to our doorstep. I Bao was worried about not being able to find them. Qimingxue and the others looked at the heavily guarded base, and were a little worried for a moment. There was no way to enter at all. Just as they were at their wits' end, 2 figures suddenly appeared on the city wall. One of the girls was holding a white cat. This iconic image allowed them to immediately recognize who she was. Gunan. Qimingxue's eyes were filled with hatred. She should not have been soft-hearted. She should have killed her before the apocalypse. Shisheng only stood on the wall for a while before he left. Qianli took a few more glances at Qimingxue before he summoned a zombie beside him and roared a few times. Shisheng heard Qianli's roar and turned around to look. Qianli teleported to her side and stared at her hand. Shisheng was speechless. You're already a zombie emperor. Why do you still remember to eat? In his eyes, was she just a moving milk bottle? Flip's table. Shisheng clasped his hands and left quickly. Qimingxue and the others were discovered by the zombies before they could enter the base. The hundreds of people were once again reduced to 20 people. Qimingxue hid in her space at the crucial moment, and was not fatally injured. However, she was really regretting it now. She was too reckless, but she did not have the time to continue hiding her strength. Once her empire had settled down, it would be harder for her to kill her than to climb to the heavens. *TCH, this is what you said, you could definitely kill her. Qimingxue was suddenly grabbed by the hair and pressed to the ground. Although her life was not in danger, her ability was exhausted and she had not recovered in time. Now that she was being pressed down by a man, how could she resist with her little strength? Boss Lu, when did I say that? Qimingxue turned her head and said with difficulty. That was not what she said at the beginning. Boss Lu was so angry that his head was spinning. How could he still listen to Qimingxue? Even though she was a great beauty, Boss Lu didn't hesitate to greet her with his fists. In the end, Boss Lu was pulled away and she was not beaten to death. She looked at Boss Lu with hatred. When everyone was unprepared, she suddenly pounced on Boss Lu and stabbed a sharp wooden stick into Boss Lu's chest. Those people wanted to pull Boss Lu away, but it became Qimingxue's best chance to kill him. She took 2 steps back, her eyes flashing with madness. Before anyone could react, Qimingxue ran away. When the others reacted and were about to chase after her, a group of zombies suddenly appeared in their vision. Qimingxue kept running until she was not far away from the base. She looked at the wall of the base with hatred. She should be the one living here. It was her. It was her, Qimingxue. It was not that *TCH Gunan. She knew so many opportunities, but why? Right, it was Gunan. She didn't follow the plot of the book. Qimingxue's expression alternated between crying and laughing. She looked very ferocious. Her ferocious expression suddenly froze, and she stared at the gate of the base. A group of people was getting out of a car, and the leader was Songshi. After getting out of the car, Songshi did not rush forward. Instead, he walked to the other side, opened the door, and let a girl out of the car. His movements were gentle, and the way he looked at the girl was also very gentle. In Qimingxue's eyes, that series of actions was like a slow-motion movie, flashing by frame by frame. She suddenly rushed over and pushed the girl away. Go to hell, all of you go to hell. B*tch, how dare you steal my things? He's mine. The girl staggered from the push. Songshur quickly caught her, and she did not fall to the ground. She looked at Qi Mingxue, who was being subdued, and her face was filled with anger. Qi Mingxue. Songshur angrily shouted. Are you crazy? You're mine. Qi Mingxue screamed. Her voice was very ear-piercing, and the people who were grabbing her felt like their eardrums were about to burst. These people all followed Songshur later on, so they didn't know what relationship Qi Mingxue had with Songshur. Right now, they only felt that Qi Mingxue was a lunatic. What do you mean mine? How could their boss be hers? Where did this woman come from? Songshur felt that Qi Mingxue's mental state was a bit off, so he frowned and didn't say anything. He turned his head and asked the girl beside him. Let go of me. Do you know who I am? Let go of me. Sure, it's me. How can you do this to me? How can you do this to me? Who is she? How can you betray me? Qi Mingxue's screams got louder and louder, and the surrounding zombies were getting irritated. They looked at Qi Mingxue with bloodthirsty eyes. Asterisk a new week, please vote. Chapter 115. Qi Mingxue went crazy. This was a bit out of Shi Sheng's expectations. She originally wanted to have some fun with Qi Mingxue. In the end, she went offline to get her lunchbox. Shi Sheng had a few zombies send Qi Mingxue back to the west. With her looks, she would probably be very popular there. Shi Sheng's people were sent to other places to manage. After 3 years, the empire was completed. A small portion of the zombies also recovered their memories. Among these people, there were naturally some who didn't like Shi Sheng and Qianli. They gathered the zombies and prepared to rebel. However, before they even started fighting, Shi Sheng had people blow them up. The power of the purple ball was definitely unimaginable. Since then, no one dared to have second thoughts. There were fewer and fewer humans in the West. In the end, all the humans banded together and stopped fighting for power. Now, the most important thing was to survive. There were already very few women, so they became tools to give birth. Only when a woman was pregnant could she live like a human and be taken care of in every possible way. If she wasn't pregnant, she could only change hands from man to man. Sometimes she could serve several men at the same time. Qi Mingxue was pregnant once, but unfortunately, she had a miscarriage. That miscarriage led her to run into the mayor of B City's safe zone. Qi Mingxue fell into his hands again. Naturally, she didn't have a good life. It was said that the humans overseas had defeated the zombies and were starting to rebuild. They flew a plane to China to exchange information. Suddenly, they found that the country was full of zombies. However, the buildings were still intact. It didn't look like they had experienced the apocalypse. Not only that, the traffic was smooth. Even the zombies knew to follow the traffic rules. This was simply, did they go to the wrong place? It wasn't easy to fly to a place with people. When they saw that the people receiving them were humans, they didn't relax. Instead, they became more serious. They were surrounded by zombies. They never knew that zombies could be so obedient. The person receiving them was Qingyu. Qingyu showed them the prepared materials and showed them that evolved zombies were smarter than normal humans. They were stronger and had longer lives. The group of people's expressions were very interesting. Their country was actually a country that failed to evolve. If that was the case, the only country that had successfully evolved was Hua Nation. They had originally wanted Hua Nation to submit to them. But in the end, not only did they not achieve their goal, but they were also intimidated by Hua Nation. It was impossible for them to do it all over again. The evolution process was so long that by the time they completed it, China would have already left them in the dust. In the 6th year of the empire's reign, Hua Nation became the leader of the other nations. In the 7th year of the empire, the zombies were renamed as new humans, and a new constitution was issued. In the 10th year of the empire, the first child of the new human race was born. He was brought into the empire to be groomed as the next emperor. In the 14th year of the empire, all of the new humans completed their evolution. In the 30th year of the empire, a new emperor took office. In the 40th year of the empire, Shisheng passed away, and the whole nation mourned. In the same year, Qianli went missing. As the founder of the zombie empire, Shisheng's portrait had been worshipped as a statue of God. When Shisheng returned to the system space, she was in a daze. She rushed to the screen that was half the height of a person. How did I die in the end? Can you *king in my life as you please now? This is murder. Do you know that? The system displayed 6 dots on the screen. What do you mean by this? Speak up if you dare. Host, don't you remember what happened before you died? Before I died. She was reading when Qianli handed her a bag of snacks. She thought that the packaging was a little strange, but she was too engrossed in reading to notice. Qianli, that little *tch, actually gave I expired products. Shisheng was furious. To be honest, the system was also very surprised that the host was poisoned to death by an expired snack. Qianli, that little *tch. I raised him like a son for so long, and he actually repaid me with expired snacks. Can I still go back now? Shisheng gritted his teeth. I'm going back to kill that little *tch. If we die together. No. The system mercilessly rejected Shisheng. Shisheng rubbed his hair in annoyance. Do you want to check the rest of the storyline? No. Seeing that little *tch made her angry. After raising him for so many years, he was still like a retard. All he knew was to eat her. Eat my ass. Name, Shisheng morality points. 110000 life points, 20 points, 9500 mission rank. See mission points, 78 hidden mission, complete hidden mission reward, 500 points side mission, complete side mission reward, 3000 points item Queen's Crown, one-time use item list, time gap, Queen's Crown. Shisheng's face twitched. Her morality points were going to drop to the sky. A side mission actually gave so many points. TSK, what a scam. I won't do it next time. It's too difficult. Host, you still have 90,000 morality points to waste. Yo, you little *tch even learned the word waste. Shisheng suddenly slapped the screen with a frighteningly loud voice. The system kept up with the times. Host, I am going to test you again. Please do not resist. Shisheng removed his hand from the screen and waved it in front of his face. Don't waste your energy. Call out the person behind you. Maybe I'll be in a good mood and tell you what you want to know. The system went silent. The entire space was dead silent. Beginning transmission. *CK your grandpa. You're always using public office to avenge private grudges. Beep. After Shisheng's figure disappeared, the screen showing Shisheng's information flashed, and a vague figure appeared on it. Master, the system called out. Don't probe her bottom line. You're not her opponent. Try to communicate with her less in the future. She already knows a lot of information from you. Master, can she really do it? The system was full of hesitation. She can. The voice was very firm. Only she can. Master, I don't understand. The system's voice was slightly fluctuating. It seemed to be very confused. It was indeed very confused. Looking at her previous missions, which one of them wasn't taking advantage of loopholes, opportunistic, and secretly changing the concept? Such a person, is she really the person that the master was talking about? The voice laughed in a low voice. Do you know why she's so unscrupulous? Because she's cold-blooded and ruthless. It felt a little bit of her feelings in Feng Xi's world. In the other worlds, she seemed to be wandering outside the world, coldly looking at it. If she was in a bad mood, she was ready to destroy the world. And look at her, ever since the end of that world, she never mentioned Feng Xi again. It ended just like that. It was as if that was just a dream. When she woke up from the dream, everything was over. The voice didn't speak, and the system space returned to silence. The female lead's feelings won't appear so quickly. The next world's campus. Don't give up on the baby you don't like. There will be more later. Chapter 116. Weren't you so arrogant when you stood out earlier? Why aren't you arrogant now? *CK, stop pretending to be dead. If you don't clean this place up today, You'll get it. In the toilet, a few girls surrounded a young girl. The girl's clothes were soaked through. The thin material was translucent, revealing her well-developed curves. One of the girls kicked the girl, but the girl didn't respond. Stop pretending to be dead. Get up, get up. Sheng felt a pain in her abdomen, and her eyelids were swollen. It took her a while to open her eyes. The strong light made her tear up uncontrollably. She vaguely saw a few girls standing in front of her, and the unique smell of the toilet wafted into her nose. Get up. You're lying on the bed. Take off her clothes. Take off her clothes? Which little bitch dared to take off her clothes? While she was still in a daze, someone had already stepped forward and pressed her hands down. Someone else bent down to take off her clothes. She was only wearing a shirt, and her underwear was already exposed. Sheng was now completely awake. Her vision had also cleared up. Her clear and bright eyes exuded traces of coldness. The girl who was undressing her just so happened to meet her eyes. She was startled by that gaze and subconsciously stopped what she was doing. Take it off. Why can't you take it off? Sheng's lips curled into a faint smile. Her voice was quiet, as if it came from the underworld. It was inexplicably creepy and made one's scalp tingle. Sheng grabbed the wrist of the girl who was pressing down on her arms. Her hands were very cold, without any warmth. The yin energy was rushing into her body. The surrounding temperature seemed to have dropped by more than 10 degrees in an instant. In the empty toilet, the four girls didn't react for a long time, as if the pause button had been pressed. A chilly wind blew in from nowhere, and the four of them shivered at the same time. Are you a human or a ghost? One of the girls asked in a trembling voice. Sheng tilted her head slightly, and her eyes curved into crescents. She smiled like a flower. Guess. The four girls' faces turned pale. She had been lying on the ground for so long, and they weren't sure if she was still breathing. She wasn't really dead, was she? The girl who was still being held by Sheng was so scared that her legs turned to jelly. She looked at Sheng in horror. She didn't have any warmth. She was a ghost. Beiji, don't pretend to be a ghost. Do you think I'm afraid of you? The braver girl shouted, but she had already taken a few steps back. A life for a life. All of you, come down and accompany me. Sheng suddenly revealed a sinister smile and deliberately drawled. I'm very lonely down there. Don't you like to play with me? Come and accompany me. Bang! One of the cubicle doors suddenly slammed shut. The incandescent lamp above their heads started to flicker for some reason, and the surrounding light started to flicker. There seemed to be the whimpering of demons and ghosts all around. Ghost. The four girls screamed at the same time and scrambled to run out of the bathroom. The girl who was caught by Sheng wanted to run away, but she couldn't. She could only cry for help. Save me, don't leave me alone. Sob, sob, save me. I'll kill whoever dares to run. Sheng let go of the girl and threw a dagger at the door of the washroom. With a bang, the door slammed shut. No, let us go out. The three girls threw themselves at the door and frantically tried to turn the doorknob. Perhaps they were scared out of their wits, but none of them managed to open the door. It wasn't me, Beiji. I didn't do anything. It's true. I swear it was them. It was all them. Unable to open the door, one of the short-haired girls suddenly turned around and knelt down. She kept kowtowing and betraying her teammates. The other three girls seemed to have been awakened by something and began to shift the blame. They all pointed out that the other party was the mastermind and that they were forced to do it. Shut up, you're so noisy. The four girls shut up at the same time, leaving only the sound of soft sobbing. Motherf asterisk cur. They wanted to strip I of my clothes the moment they arrived. If I don't teach them a lesson, they'll think I'm easy to bully. This world should be the modern world, and it's a school. It's not easy to dispose of a body after killing someone. Sheng walked to the door of the washroom and locked it. He pulled the dagger out of the door and said, Who wants to go first? You or you? Why don't you go first? No. The girl who was called out shook her head violently. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. It was them. They were the ones who ordered us to do it. If you want to look for them, go look for them. Sheng pursed his lips in boredom. This girl was too easy to scare. How boring. Take off your clothes, walk out of the washroom, and walk around outside for an hour. Then I'll call it quits. You want to take off my clothes? I'll let you take them off as much as you want. The 4 girls trembled as they took off their clothes. Shisheng didn't go too far, and left them with their underwear and underwear. Of course, one of the girls was more pitiful. She wasn't wearing any underwear. She couldn't be blamed for this. Scram. Shisheng waved his hand. If anyone dares to skimp on the job, I'll find you tonight. The 4 girls scrambled to run out of the washroom. The sky outside was gloomy and a strong wind was blowing. As soon as they came out of the washroom, the 4 of them woke up instantly and realized that they had been played. They ran back to the washroom in shame and anger, but there was no one there. Even their clothes were gone. There was a phone left on the floor. The screen was lit up, and it was showing a text message. Don't court death. The next lesson won't be so simple. Of course, if you don't believe me, you're welcome to challenge me at any time. The winner will be rewarded handsomely. Shisheng threw the clothes into the bin, and found a place to receive the plot. It was a school novel. The female lead, Ji Xiaoyu, was a gifted student at Alice Academy. Because of her outstanding grades, she was accepted by the school as an exception, and became the only child from a poor family at Alice Academy. This kind of child was definitely rare. Plot number 1. The moment she entered the school, she got into a fight with the school prince, Bei Zhe. She successfully attracted the attention of the male lead, Bei Zhe, and the supporting male lead, Shen Jinyan. Plot number 2. The female lead became a helper at Bei Zhe's house and successfully entered the male lead's daily life. At first, Bei Zhe was disdainful of the female lead. Gradually, he was moved by the female lead's determination to strive for self-improvement. Plot number 3. There would always be a supporting female lead who would court death and contribute to the relationship between the male lead and the female lead. In the end, she would either die or be crippled. Unfortunately, Shisheng had won the bid again. The supporting female lead was her. The original owner's name was Bei Zhi. She was Bei Zhe's younger sister, but she wasn't a daughter of the Bei family. Back then, Bei Zhe fell seriously ill not long after he was born. Father Bei invited an expert, who said that Bei Zhe would only recover if he raised a daughter. Thus Father Bei adopted her. Although she was the young miss of the Bei family, she didn't receive much attention. When she was young, she didn't understand. She thought that it was because she wasn't liked by Father Bei and Mother Bei. Thus, she did her best in everything, hoping that she would be praised by her parents. However, they didn't. All their love was given to Bei Zhe. Bei Zhi didn't receive any love from her parents in her childhood. Only her brother, who was doted on, remembered her. Thus, Bei Zhi engraved this warmth in her heart. Asterisk lalalala, do you love me? If you do, then vote for me. There will be more chapters in the afternoon. Chapter 117. Without her parents' love, Bei Zhi matured early. She liked Bei Zhe. She didn't know when it started, but her feelings for Bei Zhe were different. She was afraid. She was afraid that Bei Zhe would find out that his sister was a monster. She was afraid that her parents, who didn't like her, would dislike her even more. Thus, she tried her best to suppress her feelings, isolating herself from Bei Zhe's world. Bei Zhe tried to get close to her, but she pushed him far away. She only liked him in her heart. She even transferred schools and stayed in the school. She didn't use the money the Bei family gave her. Other than holidays, she didn't go home. Even if she did, she would avoid Bei Zhe. From then on, the two of them became strangers and never crossed paths again. This situation lasted until the original owner was 17. That year, she accidentally found out that she wasn't Bei Zhe's biological sister. After finding out, she was so excited that she didn't sleep for a few nights. She wanted to get close to Bei Zhe again, and let him know that she liked him. But at this time, she found that there was another girl by Bei Zhe's side. Bei Zhi transferred to Alice's school. She had a possessive desire for Bei Zhe, and started to make things difficult for the female lead. But every time, Bei Zhe would coincidentally see it. Bei Zhe hated her more and more. Bei Zhi once again confessed to Bei Zhe after getting drunk, which was coincidentally witnessed by Father Bei and Mother Bei. Father Bei and Mother Bei still liked Bei Zhe the most. Beiji didn't have such thoughts. They could take care of her and find her a good family, ensuring that she would have no worries for the rest of her life. But now that Beiji had such thoughts, it was absolutely intolerable. Thus, they arranged a marriage for Beiji and made her a pawn in a business marriage. Beiji resisted, but she knew deep down that she was just an adopted daughter. How could she resist? Her marriage partner had asked her out several times, and that guy had almost drugged Beiji and almost raped her. When she resisted, Beiji accidentally hurt his manhood. The marriage failed and the Bei family suffered heavy losses. In order to appease the other party, Beiji was chased out of the family. Beiji, who was chased out of the Bei family, was quickly expelled from school. And the boy whose manhood was hurt by Beiji completely lost his sexual happiness. His mind was twisted. In order to take revenge on Beiji, he imprisoned her illegally and tortured her in various ways. Later, he brought others to torture her, and let those men do whatever they wanted to her. He stood at the side and watched her struggle and beg for mercy. Beiji wasn't even 20 years old when she died. After reading the plot, Shisheng only wanted to say 2 words. Holy **T. The target of the original owner's revenge was not the male and female leads, but the boy. But one of the wishes was about Beizhe. Break up Beizhe and Ji Xiaoyu. She came at a good time. The original host hadn't transferred to Alice Academy yet. The reason why those girls were here was because Beiji spoke up for a girl they had bullied this afternoon. After school, they had caught her and brought her here. Beiji usually kept a low profile. No one knew that she was the child of a rich family, so those people dared to bully her. Very good. It seems like I can still act tough before I go back. The next day, photos and videos of several girls running around naked were circulating in the school forum and class group chat. One of the girls wasn't even wearing underwear. Seeing this, the group of adolescent students became very excited. The girls who had wanted to cause trouble for Shisheng were so scared that they didn't even dare to leave their dormitory. These things were not prepared by the Shisheng. She had not had the time to prepare them yet. Although it had been a while since school ended yesterday, there were still students living on campus. It was normal for them to be seen and recorded. The 4 girls were invited to the head of teaching's office. When they saw Shisheng standing at the door, they immediately exploded. Beiji, you did this, didn't you? You actually dared to complain. Perhaps it was because they were outside the head of teaching's office, but the girls were a bit afraid. Beiji, just you wait. You'll see what happens. What do you mean you'll see what happens? I'm already pretty good looking right now. Can you make me even prettier? If you're so awesome, why don't you open a beauty salon? It'll definitely make a lot of money. Shisheng's face didn't even turn red as he narcissistically praised himself. Just as the 4 girls were about to retaliate, the door to the office opened. Take care, Lawyer Yan. The head of teaching politely escorted a man in a suit out. Sorry to trouble you, head of teaching. Lawyer Yan smiled professionally. It's no trouble at all. The head of teaching's face was about to bloom into a flower. The 4 girls looked as if they'd seen a ghost. The head of teaching was famous for his facial paralysis. When had they ever seen him smile? Lawyer Yan nodded and turned to Shisheng. Miss, it's all done. I've already taken care of Alice's side. Do you want to go take a look first, or do you want to go home first? Let's go home first. Ji Xiaoyu was now working as a helper for the Bei family. She wanted to go back and observe the female lead. Okay. The head of teaching watched the 2 leave. The smile on his face immediately disappeared. He shouted at the 4 girls. What are you standing there for? Get in here. Head of teaching, Beiji framed us. We were forced to do this. One of the girls shouted. The head of teaching's expression changed. Why would she frame you? Who do you think you are? Do you know who she is? Forget it. You won't know even if I tell you. Their school was just an ordinary school. Even the richest family was only a millionaire. The 4 girls looked at each other. Later, they heard that 2 luxury cars had come to pick up Shisheng. They'd only seen those cars online. Shisheng, who'd successfully acted pretentious, was now at the Bei family's villa. Although Father Bei and Mother Bei didn't care much about Beiji, they still gave her what she deserved. They'd help her fulfill her requests. This was probably why the original owner didn't take revenge on them. Shisheng, on the other hand, understood. As the Bei family's precious daughter, her every action represented the Bei family's image. Other than the servants, there was no one else in the house. Shisheng was familiar with the villa. He asked for some snacks and went to sit in the garden in front of the villa. Stupid girl, walk faster. Haven't you eaten yet? I haven't eaten yet. You think you're so great just because your legs are long and you can walk faster. A crisp female voice sounded angry and complained. Shisheng looked up and saw the entrance to the garden. A cute girl carrying 2 school bags was struggling to follow a tall boy. The two of them were arguing as they got closer and closer. Shisheng stood up from the rattan chair. Beizhe turned around and saw her. He frowned slightly and glanced at her indifferently before looking away. Walk faster. Beizhe turned around and urged Ji Xiaoyu. Seeing her dilly-dallying, he grabbed Ji Xiaoyu's school bag and quickly walked into the villa. Ji Xiaoyu staggered and was a little angry. What are you doing? She looked up and saw the girl standing under the rattan chair. Her eyes were filled with amazement. What a beautiful girl. Asterisk, that's right. Chapter 118. Shisheng didn't greet her, and went straight back to his room. In any case, there weren't many people here who liked her. Their attitude towards her as a young miss was that she was dispensable. Ji Xiaoyu wanted to ask who that pretty girl was, but Beizhe's expression was so ugly that she didn't dare to say anything. She finished her homework and went back to work. At night, she didn't see Shisheng come down for dinner. This made Ji Xiaoyu even more curious. She secretly asked the housekeeper, Uncle He, I saw a very pretty girl in the courtyard this afternoon. Who is she? Oh, that's our young miss. She just came back today. Young miss. Ji Xiaoyu was astonished. She always thought that the Bei family only had one young master, Beizhe. How could there be a young miss? Don't ask too much about this. Uncle He glanced at Ji Xiaoyu. He was an old man in the family and knew many things. Although he sympathized with Beizhe, this was the family's business. It wasn't something they could ask about. Ji Xiaoyu said, Oh. When she heard Beizhe calling her from outside, she hurriedly ran out. Shisheng was eating in his room. Lawyer Yan had prepared all the things she needed to go to Alice's school. She was bored and was looking at them one by one. Kilt, British leather shoes, a blue jacket, a white shirt, and a bow tie. She really was a student. Shisheng suddenly heard the sound of a door opening and closing outside. Her room was on the 3rd floor, while Beizhe's room was on the 4th. There shouldn't be anyone on the 3rd floor. The only possibility was Ji Xiaoyu. Just as she thought this, she heard a commotion from next door. In this villa, only the study and a few recreational rooms were soundproof. The noise didn't stop, and Shisheng was annoyed. What was Ji Xiaoyu doing? Why was she making such a big commotion? Was she tearing down the house? Shisheng put on his slippers and went out. He knocked on the door for about a minute before the door was opened. Music poured out from inside. Ji Xiaoyu was panting heavily in her dance uniform. She was stunned when she saw the person standing outside. What are you doing? Tearing down the house. Shisheng was very rude. If you don't rest, then I'll rest. Ji Xiaoyu hurriedly ran in and turned off the music. She said apologetically, I'm sorry, Mississippi. I forgot that you live next door. F***CK, whose house is this? What's wrong? Beizhe's voice came from the stairs. His voice was cold, as if he had been disturbed. I was the one who disturbed the young miss when I was practicing, Ji Xiaoyu said in a low voice. Beizhe glanced at Shisheng. I allowed her to practice here. If you're disturbed, you can move downstairs. Is she the servant or am I the servant? Do I have to make room for her? Beizhe frowned and raised his voice. Don't be unreasonable. Am I being unreasonable? If I wanted to be unreasonable, I would have already chopped you all up. What did I say wrong? Shisheng looked into Beizhe's eyes. Her eyes were pitch black and extremely cold. Fragments of light dotted the bottom of her eyes, sparkling like diamonds. Beizhe was a little dazed. I'm sorry, Mississippi young master. Don't quarrel. It's my fault. I don't want to practice anymore. Ji Xiaoyu saw that the two were about to quarrel and hurriedly spoke up. Practice. Don't worry about her. Beizhe looked away from Shisheng and walked over. He pushed Ji Xiaoyu into the room and slammed the door shut. Then music began to play. This time, it was much louder than before. Shisheng. Your uncle. Do you think I can't deal with you bunch of brats? Villas like this all had their own power supply. Shisheng felt around the villa's main power switch and pulled down all the switches. The villa, which had been brightly lit just a moment ago, instantly fell into darkness and returned to silence. In order to prevent the power from coming back too quickly, Shisheng took out his iron sword and cut off several main circuits. Beizhe never would have thought that Shisheng would do such a thing. He only thought that it was a circuit fault and asked the housekeeper to take a look. However, the housekeeper called back and said that the circuit was damaged and couldn't be fixed in a short time. He suspected it was man-made and asked the servants to quickly inspect the villa. Is there no electricity? Ji Xiaoyu looked up and asked Beizhe. Beizhe didn't know what to think, but he didn't respond after that. Ji Xiaoyu didn't seem to notice Beizhe's abnormality. Then I'll go get some candles. There weren't many candles left in the villa. The servants had to work, so there were only 2 left. Ji Xiaoyu took them and lit them up. Beizhe stood in front of the window, not moving at all. His entire person seemed a bit strange. Hey, what's wrong with you? Ji Xiaoyu frowned and poked his back. Are you afraid of the dark? Beizhe didn't react at all. Are you really afraid of the dark? Ji Xiaoyu muttered. Just as she was about to walk in front of him, Beizhe suddenly turned around, walked to the candles and took one out. Where are you going? Hey, you're walking so fast. The candles are going to go out. Ji Xiaoyu stumbled after Beizhe. The flame in Beizhe's hand was already very low, and it looked like it would go out at any moment. Hearing Ji Xiaoyu's words, he paused for a moment. After the flame went out, he continued walking. Finally, he stopped in front of the Shisheng's door. He raised his hand to knock on the door, but his hand stopped in midair for a long time. Finally, he turned to look at Ji Xiaoyu. Knock on the door and give her the candle. Beizhe handed the candle to Ji Xiaoyu, then turned around and walked upstairs. You only know how to order me around, Ji Xiaoyu muttered. Ji Xiaoyu muttered. She knocked on the door, but there was no response for a long time. She knocked again, but there was still no response. Just as she was hesitating whether or not to open the door, Beizhe, who had just left, came back. He reached out and opened the door. Under the moonlight, she could see that the bed was a mess, but there was clearly no one there. Ji Xiaoyu watched as Beizhe circled around the room. Then he rushed out of the room and ran downstairs. Uncle, he was in the middle of having the servants inspect the villa, when Beizhe suddenly rushed downstairs. They were all startled, thinking that someone was chasing after him. Did you see her? Uncle, he was puzzled. Wasn't Xiaoyu with the young master? Just now, Xiaoyu came to take the candle. Could it be that she was caught by criminals? It's not Ji Xiaoyu. Uncle, he finally reacted. The young miss should be in her room. I didn't see her come down. She's not here, Beizhe quickly said. Without waiting for Uncle He to reply, he continued. She's afraid of the dark. Send someone to look for her. Uncle He also remembered that the young miss was afraid of the dark, so he hurriedly ordered people to look for her. He was most worried that the young miss had run into some bad people. Ji Xiaoyu was also dragged along and joined the search party. She felt that it was unfair. These rich young misses were just too willful. They disappeared just like that. Didn't they know that they would implicate many people? Evil capitalists. Asterisk cherub T vote. Reward. Don't abandon me. Chapter 119. While the entire villa was searching for her, she had already snuck back to her room. As a result, Shisheng woke up the next day and was yelled at by Beizhe. Shisheng didn't feel anything and just ignored him. If it weren't for you guys showing off first, would this Baobao have caused trouble yesterday? Beizhe's face was gloomy as he slammed the door and left. Ji Xiaoyu stood at the door, not knowing what to do. The Bei family villa was very far from the school. She had always taken Beizhe's car to get there. How was she going to get there now that Beizhe was gone? She looked around and saw that Shisheng was getting into the car. She ran over and whispered, "Miss, I'm going to school too. Let's go together. You're not familiar with the school, so I can be your guide." "No need," Shisheng calmly replied. "Alice's school is very big. I got lost the first time I went there. Miss, you've never been there before, so how can you not use me?" Ji Xiaoyu acted as if she was familiar with the place and opened the car door. "Fuck. Female lead Sama. Why are you acting so familiar with me? This is only the second time we've met, okay? Do you really think everyone in the world is your friend? I don't really want to be your friend. After all, this Bao Bao is the evil female supporting character who wants to ruin your marriage." Shisheng stood outside the car door and didn't get in. Ji Xiaoyu rolled down the window. "Miss, hurry up and get in. You're going to be late." Shisheng closed the car door and said to the driver, "Take her to school. I won't be going today." "Ah, how can that be? Isn't Miss reporting today?" Ji Xiaoyu reacted faster than the driver. Shisheng glanced at Ji Xiaoyu. "Who told you that I'm reporting today?" She just wanted to go out and buy some things. However, since the female lead Sama was going to school, she had to help her out. After Ji Xiaoyu left, Shisheng took out his phone and went to Alice's school forum to write a post. The school forum had an anonymous board that often exposed scandals. It was beneficial for the school to allow this board to exist. If anything happened, the school would be the first to see it. Shisheng's post was that Ji Xiaoyu and Bei Zhe were suspected to be a couple, and that they were taking the Bei family's car to school. This Bao Bao was simply a godly assistant. Female lead Sama doesn't need to thank me too much. When Bei Zhe returned at night, he was still alone. Ji Xiaoyu only arrived at the villa when it was dark. She looked quite miserable. The atmosphere between the two of them seemed a little strange. Bei Zhe already liked Ji Xiaoyu a bit. But liking her was one thing. Dating her was another. The first person Bei Zhe suspected was the beneficiary of this incident, Ji Xiaoyu. Bei Zhe and Shisheng didn't talk much. They returned to their rooms after dinner. Ji Xiaoyu, on the other hand, glared at her angrily. "Why are you looking at me like that?" Shisheng looked at Ji Xiaoyu strangely. "Sorry, the female lead Darren's brain circuit is not normal. She really can't guess what the female lead is thinking." Ji Xiaoyu walked over and angrily said, "You deliberately made me go to school alone so that the people at school would misunderstand me, didn't you?" She clearly wanted to go this morning, but she didn't. If it wasn't on purpose, then what was it? "So that's what you think," Shisheng muttered. "Who was the one who forced himself into my car this morning? This Bao Bao already let you have my car, but it's still this Bao Bao's fault. So no matter what the female lead does, it's always right. No matter what the supporting female lead does, it's always wrong. Xiaoyu, the young master is calling for you." Ji Xiaoyu glanced at Shisheng, then angrily went upstairs. Shisheng speechlessly rolled her eyes. The next day, she deliberately left early. Ji Xiaoyu only arrived when she was already seated in class. "Now you have to prioritize your studies. Some students don't have the capital, so they have to study hard," the teacher said in an unpleasant tone. The whole class chuckled softly. Ji Xiaoyu was both embarrassed and angry. In the end, she could only walk to her seat with a red face and silently curse in her heart. So what if you're rich? Isn't it still your parents' money? A bunch of vermin. Without them, you're nothing. Shisheng and Bei Zhe were in the same grade. Ji Xiaoyu was in her first year of high school, so Shisheng was assigned to Bei Zhe's class. As soon as she arrived, she caused a stir. Bei Zhe's appearance was definitely not bad. Bei Zhe looked at Shisheng, who was surrounded by people, and his expression became uglier and uglier. In the end, he directly kicked his desk and angrily stormed out of the classroom. His actions caused the entire classroom to quiet down. They all looked in the direction Bei Zhe had left. "What's wrong with young Master Bei?" "I don't know. He suddenly lost his temper. Could it be because of Ji Xiaoyu? I heard that Ji Xiaoyu was the one who directed and acted out the whole thing. I really didn't expect Ji Xiaoyu to be so scheming. I felt pity for her when she was bullied, but now it seems she deserved it. She racked her brains to come here. Isn't it all for the sake of finding a sugar daddy? She won't have to worry about money for the rest of her life." Shisheng didn't have much to say to these brats, so he just said a few perfunctory words. Seeing that Shisheng was so cold, they felt bored and dispersed. At noon, Shisheng went to the cafeteria to eat. From afar, he saw that Ji Xiaoyu had been slapped and there was food on the ground. What nonsense are you talking about? I didn't seduce him. It was him. Don't tell me you're saying that young Master Bei seduced you? The girl who had slapped Ji Xiaoyu sneered and interrupted her. Ji Xiaoyu, do you really think you're a spring onion? No. I have nothing to do with him. Ji Xiaoyu was so anxious that her eyes turned red. Don't talk nonsense. If you have nothing to do with him, then why did young Master Bei let you sit in his car? Ji Xiaoyu, did you use some dirty tricks to seduce young Master Bei? I didn't. Ji Xiaoyu shook her head. She suddenly saw Shisheng standing at the back of the crowd. It was as if she had seen her savior. She broke through the crowd and ran in front of Shisheng. Hurry up and explain to them that I sat in your car yesterday. Who is this? She's so beautiful. The crowd couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Young Master Bei's little sister. She just transferred here today. Young Master Bei has a little sister? As expected of young Master Bei's little sister. She's so beautiful and has such a good temperament. Hurry up and explain to them that I really didn't sit in Bei Zai's car yesterday. Seeing that Shisheng didn't say anything, Ji Xiaoyu was a bit anxious. Shisheng had always been puzzled. Who was the main character in this novel? Now she finally understood. At this time, the female lead would either remain silent or fight with these people. She definitely wouldn't be so humble as to beg for her help. The character settings were set by the author, but the extent of the character's collapse was not something the author could control. As long as there was even the slightest change in the plot, the character settings would change dozens of times. Sometimes, a single choice could change a lot of people. After saying so much nonsense, Shisheng's only thought was, let the female lead become evil. Asterisk, please vote. Chapter 120. Why should I help you explain? Shisheng tilted his head, his expression cold. Ji Xiaoyu seemed to have been awakened, and her face turned deathly pale. Her body swayed, and she took a step back. She was the one who had done this, so how could she help her? She had only disturbed her during her dance practice, and this was her revenge. As expected, none of these rich people's daughters were good people. All of them were evil demons in beautiful human skin. Tisk, Ji Xiaoyu, how can your skin be so thick? Seducing young Master Bei is one thing, but now you want to curry favor with his little sister. Do you really think that people don't know your dirty thoughts? Ji Xiaoyu suddenly turned to look at the girl, her tear-stained face full of viciousness. It was a bit frightening to look at. The girl was startled, but when she reacted, she immediately shouted, Ji Xiaoyu, what are you glaring at? Ji Xiaoyu seemed to have been enraged. She bared her fangs and brandished her claws as she pounced on the girl. You're the one who seduced people. I didn't seduce Bei Zai. The two wrestled for a while before they were separated. Shisheng watched as the farce ended, and then he saw the male lead appear. Bei Zai glanced at them from afar, as if he didn't want to come over. The moment he turned around, he seemed to have thought of something and walked over with large strides, pulling Ji Xiaoyu into his embrace. The noisy scene suddenly became deathly silent. Many people didn't even dare to breathe loudly as they looked at Bei Zai. Bei Zai coldly swept his gaze over them, then roughly dragged Ji Xiaoyu away. Heavens, young Master Bei's gaze was murderous. Once Bei Zai left, the frightened crowd breathed a sigh of relief. Ji Xiaoyu can't really be dating young Master Bei, right? Someone questioned. Of course, this question was met with angry glares from many girls. How could their young Master Bei choose an ugly duckling? Absolutely not. Young Master Bei was only interested in Ji Xiaoyu for a while. Once he got tired of her, he would abandon her. Shisheng always felt that Bei Zai was a bit strange. He seemed to be very angry every time he saw him, but after a while, he would appear in front of him to make his presence known. Motherf asterisk her, the male lead is simply crazy. Shisheng went to school and left school. His work and rest schedule was very regular. The male and female lead's relationship seemed to be progressing smoothly. Although Beize didn't admit to the rumors, every time Ji Xiaoyu was in trouble, he would step forward bravely. Shisheng was actually very busy. Every time she went to the modern plane, she liked to make money. In this world where murder was illegal, money was a good thing. Shisheng didn't do anything other than promote the relationship between the male and female leads. Now almost the entire school believed that Beize and Ji Xiaoyu were dating. Ji Xiaoyu had defended herself in the beginning, but now, she had become silent. Now the way she looked at Beize was completely different. Even if Ji Xiaoyu didn't have any feelings for Beize before, she would definitely like Beize now. Beiji, there's going to be a joint performance for the school's anniversary celebration. Do you have any programs that you want to participate in? The class monitor, Linyin, asked as she scribbled on her notebook. No. Shisheng replied without looking up. Linyin's pen paused for a moment before she pulled out the chair in front of Beiji and sat opposite her. Beiji, you can't be like this. Our studies are already very heavy. I see that you're either looking at your phone or reading books all day long. You need to relax a little. Shisheng raised her head slightly and flipped the book in her hand so that it was facing Linyin. Linyin blinked and glanced at the book. Her face immediately turned red. Shisheng expressionlessly flipped the book back. Beiji, why are you reading this kind of book? Linyin stuttered, almost unable to form a complete sentence. Strike a balance between work and rest. Shisheng calmly flipped the page. Linyin. This has nothing to do with striking a balance between work and rest. You're reading a pornographic novel. And such a perverted one at that. But shouldn't this kind of book be banned? Where did she buy it from? The quality looks pretty good. Ahem, I'm at the drama club. Why don't you come too? Young Master Bei is there too. When she mentioned Beize, Linyin's eyes became faintly infatuated. Ji Xiaoyu is there too. MN. Linyin's expression darkened when she heard the name Ji Xiaoyu. Would you let me go if I don't work? Shisheng asked seriously. In the end, Shisheng still joined the drama club. Of course he did nothing and did nothing. The club president was Linyin. Shisheng was also Beize's younger sister. Even though the two of them barely interacted, the school anniversary celebration was a special feature of the school. Every club had to put on a performance. The drama club's rehearsal was Snow White. Shisheng really wasn't interested in this kind of fairy tale. If she were to write it, she would definitely turn the fairy tale into a dark one. The day before the school anniversary celebration rehearsal. Beiji, I'm sorry. I have to rehearse in a bit. Could you help me get my clothes? Linyin looked embarrassed. I'm going to wear the clothes tomorrow. The place where it's custom made is a bit far, so could I trouble you? Shisheng took his feet off the chair and looked up at Linyin. Location? President. Linyin was about to speak when someone ran out from behind. Ji Xiaoyu went. She said you don't have to look for her. Ji Xiaoyu. Linyin was surprised. That place is so far away. How did she get there? We were just talking about it. Ji Xiaoyu took the initiative to go. Shisheng's lips curved into a smile. Lord Plotline was indeed powerful. In the original plot, it was Beiji who had planned for the original owner to go. The important part wasn't to get the clothes, but to come back. There would be a heavy rain, and then she would have to go through hardships with the male lead. She hadn't done anything yet, but Ji Xiaoyu had actually taken the initiative to go. Sure enough, the male and female leads had to meet in different places. The suburbs. Ji Xiaoyu hugged a large bag as she walked through the water. Her heart was filled with regret and grievance. If she had known this place was so far away, she wouldn't have come. Moreover, when she arrived, she was so shocked by the scenery of the villa district that she didn't ask the taxi driver to wait for her. She took the clothes and walked out of the villa district. Only then did she remember that the car was long gone. She could only walk forward and see if she could find a car. Who knew that it would rain heavily after walking for a short distance? She couldn't find a taxi, and there wasn't even a place to hide from the rain. Ji Xiaoyu's feet slipped, and she fell into a puddle. The bag in her hand fell apart, and her brightly colored clothes were immediately stained with mud. Ji Xiaoyu hurriedly put the clothes back into the bag, but the more she put, the more wrong she felt. She suddenly threw the clothes to the ground and stomped on them to vent her anger. Mud splashed everywhere. They must have done it on purpose. They deliberately made me run so far away. They must be looking down on me, looking down on me. So what if you're rich? Why did you have to run so far to make clothes? After venting, Ji Xiaoyu's small chest heaved up and down. The cold rain had extinguished some of her resentment. Looking at the black pile of clothes on the ground, she finally felt nervous and afraid. Just now, when she was picking up the clothes, she heard the assistant say that each of these clothes cost over 1,000 yuan. Most importantly, they would be used tomorrow. She couldn't lose face in front of Bei Zhe. Ji Xiaoyu picked up the clothes and stuffed them all into the bag. She hugged the bag that had more than doubled in weight, and continued walking. She had to clean the clothes before tomorrow. She didn't want those people to see her as a joke. One day, she wanted those people who looked down on her to be envious and jealous of her. Chapter 121. Shisheng went to do something when the male and female leads were going through thick and thin together. Ji Xiaoyu's mother had passed away early, leaving only her father. He was busy with work and often neglected Ji Xiaoyu. Ji Xiaoyu was estranged from him because of her mother, so their relationship wasn't that deep. Father Ji liked to buy lottery tickets. After work, he went to buy a ticket as usual. When he left the shop, he bumped into a little girl. She bumped into him, and the ticket fell to the ground. How can you walk like that? Don't you have eyes? Father Ji scolded. I'm sorry. The little girl hurriedly picked up the ticket and handed it to Father Ji. Be careful next time. Father Ji rudely took the ticket back. Young people these days are so careless. I'm sorry, I won't do it again. The little girl apologized again and again, then ran away. After turning the corner of the street, the little girl walked towards a coffee shop and sat opposite a young girl with a still face. This young girl was Shisheng. Here. The little girl pushed the ticket in front of Shisheng. Where's the money? Shisheng took out a few bills from his bag and handed it to her. The little girl took the money and left. Shisheng looked at the ticket on the table and smiled strangely. He became rich overnight. On the day of the school's anniversary, everything was ready, but the person who went to get the clothes was not there yet. Why isn't she back yet? Call her. Also, why isn't young Master Bei here yet? Beiji, have you seen young Master Bei? Lin Yin walked over anxiously. Shisheng looked up and shook his head. I don't know. I didn't see him last night. President, we're next. President, I can't get through to Ji Xiaoyu and young Master Bei's phones. The male and female leads were cultivating their relationship. How could they turn on their phones? The group of people was anxious, and the time they spent on stage was getting shorter and shorter. They're here. They're back. Ji Xiaoyu and Bei Zhe were surrounded as soon as they entered the backstage. Ji Xiaoyu, where's the costume? Young Master Bei, hurry up and put on your makeup. The group of people talked at once, but the two didn't move. The noise suddenly stopped. Only then did everyone realize that the two of them were in a rather sorry state. I'm sorry. Ji Xiaoyu suddenly spoke up, breaking the silence. I lost my clothes. Ji Xiaoyu, this isn't the time to joke around, another student said. I'm not joking. Ji Xiaoyu couldn't face the gazes of so many people. She subconsciously hid behind Bei Zhe. Bei Zhe shielded Ji Xiaoyu behind him. This action clearly showed that he had lost his clothes. Everyone looked at each other. In order to rehearse this play, they had put in more than just time. Now all he had to do was to say that his clothes were missing. Therefore all his efforts were in vain. I already told you not to go, but you insisted on going. Ji Xiaoyu, you must have a grudge against us. One of the girls couldn't take it anymore and burst into tears. Lin Yin's eyes were also a little red, and her heart felt uncomfortable. She was in her 3rd year of high school this year, and this was the last play she planned to put an end to her high school career. But now everything was ruined. I'm sorry. Ji Xiaoyu softly apologized. What's the use of apologizing? Now that we don't have any clothes, all our efforts have been in vain. I'm sorry. Ji Xiaoyu could only keep apologizing. Why haven't you changed your clothes yet? It's almost time for you to go on stage. Shisheng came in from outside, his clear voice ringing out. What clothes? We don't even have any clothes. Shisheng looked at the girl who had spoken, even though he already knew the answer. The girl cried as she said, Ji Xiaoyu lost her clothes. Now that we don't have any clothes, how can we go on stage? Shisheng looked at Ji Xiaoyu. Ji Xiaoyu shrank behind Beizhe, her face pale, as if she had been frightened. I was the one who lost the clothes, Beizhe directly said when Shisheng looked over. Beizhe. Ji Xiaoyu looked at Beizhe with reddened eyes, her eyes filled with emotion. Shisheng sneered. If you don't have the ability, then don't poke your nose into it. It clearly wasn't her problem, but she insisted on doing it and she couldn't do it well. But in the male lead's eyes, her actions were so stupid that they were cute, and he even spoke up for her. This was the era of the female lead. Beizhe. Beizhe sternly shouted at Shisheng. What are you doing? Are you going to yell at me to get my clothes back? Motherf ***, I clearly didn't do anything, so why are you yelling at me again? Beizhe angrily glared at her, his eyes filled with ice. Students of the drama club, you're next. Someone shouted from afar. Lin Yin took a deep breath. I'll go tell the teacher to cancel our program. You all. Can't you think of something else? Some people were unwilling to give up. This was the program they had worked so hard on for so long. Why would they cancel it just because they said so? Lin Yin shook her head, her eyes red. It was too late to rent it now. The school's anniversary program ended without a cause, and Ji Xiaoyu became the main culprit. But because Beizhe was protecting her, the drama club members didn't dare to make trouble for her. But many of them left the drama club. They couldn't afford to offend her, but couldn't they just avoid her? Ji Xiaoyu was being ostracized at school. Her school bag disappeared without a trace, and she was deliberately given the wrong program time. Ji Xiaoyu, someone is looking for you at the school gate. The student who passed the message had a look of contempt. I wonder where this nouveau riche came from. Ji Xiaoyu didn't really understand. She lowered her head and walked past the student, but the student suddenly stretched out his leg and tripped her. Seeing her fall to the ground, he laughed and swaggered off. Ji Xiaoyu resentfully glared in the direction that the student left. Finally, she got up with a sullen face and walked towards the school gate. At the school gate, Ji Xiaoyu saw a man standing there from afar. Although he was dressed in a suit, there was a thumb-sized golden necklace around his neck and a golden watch on his wrist. He looked very strange, like an employee who had stolen his boss's suit. Xiaoyu. The man waved at Ji Xiaoyu. Ji Xiaoyu didn't dare to believe her eyes, but when the man called out to her, she was sure that this was really her father. Ji Xiaoyu ran out of the school gate and pulled him to the side. Why are you here? And why are you dressed like this? No wonder that person said he was a nouveau riche. With his clothes, wasn't he a nouveau riche? Dad is rich now. Father Ji was very excited. Look, Dad is also a rich man now. In the future, Dad won't have to neglect you for work anymore. Xiaoyu, Dad will buy you whatever you want. Where did you get so much money? Ji Xiaoyu's first reaction was to frown. How could she not know her father? For the sake of work, he didn't even care about his wife's life. Her mother's death was only discovered 2 days later. It was also from that time that her relationship with Father Ji became bad. She always felt that Father Ji was the one who killed Mother Ji. Asterisk, if you praise me more, I'll be pleasantly surprised. Request votes recommended by 1,000 people. Chapter 122. I won the first prize in the lottery. Father Ji looked around and lowered his voice. 40 million. We'll be rich in the future. 40 million. Ji Xiaoyu's eyes widened. This was an astronomical figure for her. She could actually win so much from the lottery? Now that she was rich, did that mean she wouldn't have to be bullied anymore? Ji Xiaoyu was excited. She didn't want to live a life of being bullied anymore. Everyone had a dark side. If Ji Xiaoyu could survive this period, then she would truly be someone who didn't care about money. But this money appeared just when her heart was wavering. I think I saw Changxing today. That guy scared me to death. Did young Master Fu return to school? Student A's face was full of fear, and his voice was trembling. I don't think so. I didn't see young Master Fu's bodyguard. Student B comforted him. Did you see wrongly? How could I see wrongly? It was so big. Who else could it be other than Changsheng? The school is really too much. How could they let such a big guy in? I almost died a few times. Student A's face was deathly pale. Then young Master Fu might have returned to school. We have to be careful in the future. If we meet Changsheng, we're dead. The two of them talked as they walked past Shisheng. Shisheng looked at their backs strangely. What Changsheng? He was so awesome. If we meet him, we're dead? How could the school allow such a dangerous thing to enter the school? Just as Shisheng was puzzled, his gaze suddenly changed. He looked at the flowers to the side. A huge creature jumped out of the flowers without warning and met Shisheng's gaze. Its eyes were green and filled with savagery. Shisheng. What kind of lunatic was feeding a Caucasian dog here? Caucasian dogs were her favorite type of dog because they were strong and loyal. But she didn't like being fed by someone else at all. Damn it. She could die. Shisheng's eyes turned cold. He glared back fiercely, his body filled with killing intent. You think I'm afraid of you just because you're a dog? The big dog arched its body as if it had seen an invader invading its territory. A low growl came from its throat. Shisheng silently raised his middle finger. Woof! The big dog seemed to be enraged. It pounced on the Shisheng fiercely. Shisheng was caught off guard and was startled, but he still dodged nimbly. Next to her was a half-high iron railing with carved patterns. Shisheng's back hit the iron railing, and the sharp edge of the railing scraped against her back, causing her to feel a sharp pain. However, the big dog did not give up. It turned its head and pounced over again. Its fierce eyes looked as if it wanted to tear the Shisheng apart. Shisheng silently took out his iron sword, but before he could swing it, the big dog howled and crawled on the ground with its tail between its legs. Shisheng was speechless. Wasn't she quite bossy just now? How could he not be arrogant so quickly? Shisheng waved his iron sword and walked towards the big dog. Hidden quest, Thorny Heaven and Thorny Earth. Please choose a mode. Normal mode or chain mode. The system's voice suddenly rang out, stopping Shisheng in his tracks. Shisheng's mouth twitched. Another hidden mission. It's one thing for you to have a weird name, but you even have a mode to choose from? And what the hell is a chain mode? System, can you not randomly add things to my system? Does your manufacturer know how willful you are? The system ignored Shisheng. Shisheng waited for a while, but the system continued to remain silent. Chain mode. I want to see what the hell this new function is. Mode selected cannot be changed. Mission target, Fuqin. Chain mission 1. Get to know each other. Shisheng was speechless. This is a chain mission? Motherf asterisk Kerr. All the missions are issued by you one by one, right? Shisheng looked up at the sky. Why do I feel like the system has become even colder? Shisheng looked at the big dog that was still crawling on the ground. Changsheng, Motherf asterisk Kerr. It's actually a dog. Is Fuqin trying to turn this dog into a spirit? Fuqin's background was unknown. In any case, he was an anomaly at school. You might not even see him once in a year. But the entire school knew of his existence. The reason was simple. This guy had a dog. Whenever this dog appeared, it meant that Fuqin was nearby. In the storyline, Fuqin appeared as the final boss. The setting was rather melodramatic. When Fuqin was young, he was the female lead's neighbor. At that time, he was alone with only a housekeeper to serve him. Then the female lead shone brightly and gave Fuqin an unforgettable childhood memory. From then on, Fuqin couldn't forget the female lead. So when he met the female lead and discovered that she liked someone else, Fuqin started courting death. In the end, he committed suicide. Villains were all pitiful. Shisheng shook his head. He looked at the big dog in front of him, his gaze turning sinister again. These were two different things. This guy had almost crippled her just now. No matter what, she had to collect some interest. She walked in front of Changsheng in a few steps, raised her hand and chopped down. Changsheng dodge. A boy's calm voice came from the side. Changsheng had been crawling on the ground all this time. When Fuqin's voice rang out, It reacted and dodged. But it was still a step too late. The iron sword cut one of its legs. Fresh blood flowed down its fur. Ow! Chongqing cried out in pain. She didn't care about the mission target. This thing dared to hurt her. She was already being considerate by not killing it. After completing the mission, she would stew it and eat it. Perhaps because Shisheng's gaze was too cold. Chongqing fell to the ground and cried out miserably. It no longer dared to show any ferocity in its eyes. Fu Qin walked out from behind the flowers. The youth's eyes were clear and bright, like the cold moon in the sky. He carried an unattainable elegance. He crouched down and examined Chongqing's injury. Then he took out his phone and made a call. All of this was done very calmly. Shisheng sized up Fu Qin suspiciously. His body emitted an aura of death. Soon enough, someone appeared at the end of the path and carried Chongqing away. Only then did Fu Qin get up. His calm eyes were like a deep spring. They attracted people's attention, but they were also filled with thorns. No one dared to approach them. Chongqing was in the wrong first. We're even. After saying this, Fu Qin elegantly turned around. His movements were like moving clouds and flowing water. Who knew that in the next second, Fu Qin's body would sway and he would suddenly fall towards the flowers. Shisheng watched helplessly as Fu Qin fell into the flowers. Half of his body was hidden among the green leaves. What kind of trick was this? Even a handsome man shouldn't be used like this. At least take off one of your clothes first. She walked over. First, she observed the person lying on the ground. Then, she used the iron sword to poke Fu Qin's butt. After making sure that he wouldn't come back to life, she looked up at the sky in distress. This kind of encounter between the male and female leads, so strange. Asterisk pleading votes. Chapter 123. Shisheng was about to turn around and leave when the system's voice rang out again. Chain Quest 2. Send Fu Qin to the hospital. Shisheng. Are you sure this isn't an impromptu quest? He suddenly regretted choosing a chain quest. Why did he have to court death? There's definitely something wrong with the system's products. Unjustly implicated system. I'm innocent too, alright? Who told you to not follow the script? To be honest, Shisheng had never imagined that the great villain would be so delicate. Was she a freaking villain? Wasn't she the female lead? Shisheng stood by the bed, propping up his chin as he stared at Fu Qin. Fu Qin's face was still that of a teenager. To an old monster like Shisheng who had seen his fair share of handsome men, his looks were somewhat unremarkable. But that aura of death around him, it was very attractive. When Fu Qin woke up, Shisheng was standing by the window, talking on the phone. His crisp voice was pleasing to the ear. He's not awake yet, so I'm not too sure. No, I just picked him up on the road and sent him here like Lei Feng. You're welcome. Okay. You want me to take care of him? Pay? Okay, no problem. I'll definitely take good care of him. Fu Qin moved his neck, trying his best to see the girl standing by the window. It was the girl with the strange iron sword from before. When she turned around, her clear and bright eyes seemed to be sprinkled with resplendent starlight. However, there wasn't the slightest ripple in the depths of her eyes. When their gazes met, Shisheng's originally calm face immediately twisted into a slightly strange smile. Your life seems to be very valuable. You're offering me $1 million just for taking care of you? Just how rich was the Fu family? Fu Qin didn't respond, his gaze moving down to her hand. Shisheng looked down and saw his phone in her hand. He tossed it onto the bed and explained. It rang a lot, so I picked it up because I was a bit annoyed. Fu Qin took the phone, unlocked the screen, and glanced at the number. He blocked it and turned it off. All in one go. Shisheng didn't say anything. Fu Qin also didn't say anything. He closed his eyes, his breathing shallow. The atmosphere became tense. Until a middle-aged man who called himself Fu Qin's butler arrived, breaking the deliberate atmosphere. Thank you, young lady. The man thanked Shisheng politely. He looked at her in amazement, as if he was looking at an alien. Here's a check for 1 million yuan. Shisheng felt uncomfortable under her gaze. He glanced at the check. She really gave it to him. I don't understand the world of the rich. Shisheng took the check calmly. Then I'll leave first. Young lady, wait. The man stopped Shisheng. Shisheng turned to look at him. The man smiled amiably at the Shisheng, then glanced at Fu Qin, who was lying on the sickbed like a corpse. He lowered his voice and said, I'll have to trouble you to keep an eye on him for a while. I need to talk to the doctor about something. Seeing Shisheng's strange expression, the man motioned for her to go out and talk. To be honest, our young master has a very bad temper. Today you stayed by his side for so long and didn't lose your temper. I also find it very strange. So, can I trouble you to wait a little longer? Money is not a problem. Was Fu Qin's temper bad? He couldn't tell at all. Just as Shisheng was about to refuse, the system popped out again. Chain Mission 3, accept him. The corners of Shisheng's mouth twitched. He was forced to swallow the words he was about to say. The man left for a long time. Shisheng stood in the room and paced back and forth. During this time, Fu Qin's eyes were closed and he didn't react at all. Her phone suddenly vibrated. Shisheng pulled it out and walked to the window to answer the call. When she turned around, Fu Qin slowly opened his eyes. His gaze landed lightly on her body. Yes, money is not a problem. I can provide it. Send me the information in a bit. I'll give you an answer after I've looked it over. You don't need to ask me about such a small matter. I didn't hire you to use money as a vase. Her voice was clear and crisp. It carried the sweetness of a young girl, but it was very clean and efficient. Shisheng hung up the phone and looked at the stock market for a while before turning to look at the sickbed. Fu Qin was still lying there quietly. The man hadn't returned for a long time. Shisheng was getting impatient and went out to look for him. Shisheng walked out of the room. The VIP ward was very quiet. The sound of conversation could be heard from the side corridor. His body is already very weak. If this continues, he'll collapse sooner or later. Yes. But the young master refuses to take his medicine. He's completely given up on himself. There's nothing we can do. We've tried everything. You still have to think of something. If he continues like this, he'll only last half a year at most. You're the young master's main doctor. It's not like you haven't seen the young master when he's in trouble. Shisheng listened for a while. His brows furrowed deeper and deeper. Fu Qin has a terminal illness? Isn't this a standard setting for female leads? He's a villain. Why the hell would he have a terminal illness? Shisheng stood at the door of the room and waited for the man to return. About half an hour later, the man finally returned with several bodyguards in black. First, he politely apologized to Shisheng. Then he handed Shisheng a check. To be honest, this money was far too easy to earn. But he couldn't shake the feeling that this money was a trap. So after exchanging some pleasantries with the man, Shisheng left. Wednesday. 3 days had passed since Fu Qin's hospitalization. When Shisheng's class was over, the system suddenly popped out. Chain Mission 4. Deliver food. What the hell? Say it again if you have the guts. Deliver food. The system's cold electronic voice obediently rang out. Deliver your grandpa. I can endure those lousy missions from before. But I don't want to do this kind of daily mission anymore. The system's voice didn't ring out again. Shisheng didn't go to the system. It was only after school was over that the system repeated the mission again. If I don't go, this thing will keep repeating, right? Just as she expected, the system repeated the mission again the next day. From a few hours, it shortened to an hour, then half an hour, and finally, it repeated every few minutes. After school was over, Shisheng carried the food he bought outside and stormed into the hospital. Outside the room, a man and 4 bodyguards dressed in black were standing together, whispering to each other. Young master hasn't eaten for a day and a half. This can't go on. Uncle Jian, hurry up and think of something. The butler, Uncle Jian, shook his head. What can I do? Whoever goes in now will be unlucky. Young lady? Uncle Jian's sharp eyes glanced at Shisheng. The bodyguards immediately stopped talking and stood straight on either side of him. But their eyes kept darting towards Shisheng. What are you doing? Uncle Jian was surprised to see the lunchbox in Shisheng's hands. Delivering food. Shisheng was angry and his tone wasn't very good. Uncle Jian. How is this the way she's delivering food? It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that she's here for revenge. Uncle Jian didn't dare to let Shisheng in. Also, why would she deliver food to their young master for no reason? Young lady, young master's emotions are a bit unstable right now, so. He tactfully refused. It's okay. I don't care, Shisheng replied stiffly. Uncle Jian. This young lady looks quite smart. Why doesn't she understand what I'm saying? Shisheng made it seem like she was determined to go in today no matter what. The bodyguards next to her became nervous and blocked her way. Add Moria baby who doesn't vote. Keep your votes and you won't have children. T to the power of T, please vote. Chapter 124. You still haven't allowed young Master Fu to eat? The doctor appeared out of nowhere and ignored the tense atmosphere. He calmly said, today is the third day. He hasn't eaten anything these days. If this continues, we can only prepare for his funeral. The doctor left after he finished speaking, not caring about the reactions of the people here. If one looked closely, they would realize that the doctor was practically running away. It's hard to be a doctor. Look at these family members. They all look like they want to kill someone. Maybe I should call security first. Uncle Jian and Shisheng glared at each other. For some reason, the bodyguards suddenly tried to persuade Uncle Jian. In the end, Uncle Jian let Shisheng in. The most important thing now was to get young Master Fu to eat. The room was a mess. Medical equipment was scattered all over the floor, and blankets and pillows were thrown everywhere. It looked like a fight had just broken out. The pungent smell was so strong that it was suffocating. Fu Qin was wearing a hospital gown as he leaned against the headboard. One of his legs was propped up on the bed, and his hand was resting on his knee. He was holding a cigarette between his index and middle fingers. Smoke swirled around him, making his figure appear hazy and illusory. His other hand hung by the side of the bed. Fresh blood flowed from his fingertips and dripped onto the floor. He tilted his head. His eyes were shrouded in fog and filled with a deathly stillness. The scene was decadent and bloody. Do you want to die, or do you not want to die? Shisheng was already angry. When he saw this scene, he didn't think much and directly mocked. If you want to die, you can just jump from here. Why go through all this trouble? When he heard the voice, Fu Qin moved his stiff neck. It took him a while to focus and see the girl standing in front of him. After looking at Shisheng for 3 seconds, he suddenly stood up and walked barefoot to the open window. He flipped over and stepped on it. Young master. A group of people rushed in from outside. Don't be rash, young master. Get out. Fu Qin's voice was very soft. The wind blew through the window, making it sound like it was broken. Jump if you can. Shisheng continued to goad him. Little girl. Uncle Jian's voice was very loud. His eyes were filled with anger. He wanted this little girl to come in and persuade the young master, not to instigate the young master to die. Young master. Uncle Jian turned his head to look, but Fu Qin's figure had already disappeared from the windowsill. Instead, several bodyguards were leaning against the window, looking down in horror. Shisheng was dumbfounded. He really jumped. F***ck, this villain died too easily. I can't take it anymore. When using items, there's a time gap. Shisheng gritted her teeth and muttered the words. Space suddenly became still. Everyone's expression froze at that moment. The world became silent. Shisheng stepped through the mess on the ground and walked to the window on the other side. He pushed it open and looked down. Fu Qin was still in a descending position, only a dozen or so meters above the ground. Shisheng jumped down from the window and quickly reached Fu Qin's side. She landed firmly beside him, stepping on the iron sword. She brought Fu Qin down a few meters, stopping when they were a meter above the ground. Then she waited for the item to lose its effect. 3, 2, 1. In that instant, the still city came alive. The silent world was filled with noise. Shisheng, who was hugging Fu Qin, smashed into the ground from the impact. Although she'd managed to cushion some of the impact, she still heard a crisp crack from her back. F***ck, why did she want to die? Who knew this idiot would really jump? Luckily, This was the inpatient area and there weren't many people around. Otherwise, who knew how the rumors would spread? Are you trying to crush me to death? Shisheng said through gritted teeth. Fu Qin didn't react. He slowly propped himself up and said regretfully, I didn't die. Shisheng. I should have let you die. Why the hell did I save you? The people in the ward above only saw Shisheng suddenly appear and crash onto the ground with her young master. A group of people quickly rushed down and checked Fu Qin several times to make sure he was fine. Only then did they notice Shisheng lying on the ground. Shisheng was sent to the hospital for emergency treatment. Damn it, I did it all myself. While Shisheng was hospitalized, Fu Qin was still trying to kill himself. But every time he did, the system would give her missions. They were all trivial things. For example, tell Fu Qin a joke. Give Fu Qin a fruit. Accompany Fu Qin for a checkup. Shisheng finally understood why the housekeeper said Fu Qin had a bad temper. It was one thing for this guy to want to die at any time, but he was also a silent victim. If there was a disagreement, he wouldn't say a word. Due to the unpleasantness of their second meeting, Uncle Jian actually didn't like Shisheng very much. His first good impression of him was now negative. On top of that, Shisheng had instigated his young master to jump off the building. Then, she'd mysteriously appeared next to the young master. Uncle Jian felt it was already a miracle that he hadn't ordered someone to drag this suspicious person out and deal with her. So every time Shisheng wanted to see Fu Qin, he had to fight a battle of wits and courage with the housekeeper, as if he was guarding against a thief. Chain Mission 14. Send flowers. Shisheng, who was in the middle of taking her medicine, silently chewed on the bitter pills until they made crunching sounds. The nurse who came to deliver the medicine was scared witless. Miss Bay's expression. Was she trying to kill someone? Also, wasn't the medicine bitter? The nurse watched as Shisheng angrily finished the medicine. Then, she quickly packed up and left the ward. These two wards were filled with strange people. One didn't take medicine, while the other chewed medicine like it was candy. Rich people these days were getting weirder and weirder. Shisheng picked up his phone and ordered a bouquet of flowers online. What kind of flowers? Whatever, they weren't important. When Shisheng received the flowers, his entire face darkened. Motherf ***, how could I forget to say I didn't want roses? Forget it. That person who thinks about dying all day probably won't care. With great difficulty, Shisheng carried the large bouquet of roses to the front of the ward. At first, the bodyguards didn't see anyone. Just as they were about to stop him, they saw an exquisite little face behind the flowers. Miss Bay, what are you doing? What are you doing? Sending roses. Shisheng first looked around. When he didn't see Uncle Jian, he glared at the bodyguard. Open the door, my back hurts. I haven't recovered yet. The bodyguard hastily pushed the door open. They were actually quite willing to see Shisheng come looking for their young master. At least at this time, although the young master didn't say anything, he wouldn't try to escape or commit suicide when they weren't paying attention. Fu Qin was looking down at his phone. When he heard the door open, he quickly lay down and pulled the blanket over his head. This girl was always in front of him. It was so annoying. If Shisheng knew what Fu Qin was thinking, he would probably slap the entire bouquet of roses in his face. Did he think she wanted to be in front of him? Idiot. Fu Qin, don't play dead. Shisheng threw the flowers onto Fu Qin's blanket. Get up and collect the flowers. Fu Qin could smell the strong fragrance of the flowers under the blanket. He lifted a corner of the blanket and saw the bright-colored roses. He was stunned for a moment. Then his gaze slowly moved to Shisheng's face. * This chapter is poisonous, ha 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 ha. Chapter 125. The girl's face was delicate, but her expression wasn't good. She was angry, but that didn't hinder her beauty. She didn't need to do anything. Just by standing there, she exuded an indescribable aura of nobility. Shisheng saw that Fu Qin had noticed and didn't say anything. She turned around and left the room. Motherf ***, I'm not going to do chain missions anymore. It's so tiring. Kacha. The door to the room closed and the room returned to silence. Fu Qin slowly lifted the blanket and sat up. He held the bouquet of flowers in front of him and stared at it for a while. When Uncle Jian returned to the room, he saw the roses scattered all over the room. His young master was lying on the bed, his head lowered as he played with his phone. There were also a few roses scattered around him. I just went out to buy food. How did the room turn into this? Where did the flowers come from? Uncle Jian couldn't ask his young master, so he could only ask the bodyguard outside. Miss Bei gave them to us, the bodyguard replied honestly. Uncle Jian's expression turned ugly. She gave me roses? What's the meaning of this? Does she fancy the young master? No, young master can't be with this girl. They're not a good match. Uncle Jian handled the discharge procedures for Fu Qin that day. Shisheng didn't receive any mission notifications for the next few days. She was happy that there were no missions, but when she left the hospital, she found out that Fu Qin had been discharged long ago. When Shisheng returned to the villa, she heard the sound of conversation and laughter. Ji Xiaoyu and Beizhe sat together in the living room. Across from them sat a middle-aged couple who had maintained themselves very well. Shisheng was stunned for a moment. She matched the two people from her memories. Father Bei and Mother Bei. They're actually back? But Ji Xiaoyu, she's changed quite a bit. Ji Xiaoyu must have been doing well while I wasn't around, right? At this time, Ji Xiaoyu was wearing branded clothes. Her neck and wrists were adorned with the latest accessories. She was no longer barefaced. Instead, she was wearing exquisite makeup. The smile on her face was filled with confidence. Her chest was slightly puffed out, forcefully showing off her presence. Although she was wearing branded clothes, her aura couldn't keep up. She looked a little strange. Beizhe was the first to spot the Shisheng. He stood up immediately and walked towards the Shisheng, but the next second, he bent down to pick up a glass of water from the table. Drink some water. Thank you. Ji Xiaoyu blushed and shyly said. Silly girl. Beizhe patted Ji Xiaoyu's head. Dad, Mom, let me show Xiaoyu around. Okay, go ahead. Dinner will be ready soon. Mother Bei smiled and nodded. She seemed to like Ji Xiaoyu very much. Only after Beizhe left did Shisheng enter the house. Father Bei and Mother Bei only asked a few simple questions about Shisheng's return, their attitude perfunctory. When she was hospitalized, she called home. However, their perfunctory attitude was enough for Shisheng to experience what kind of life the original owner of this body had lived here. Being ignored like this and having unspeakable feelings in her heart, it wouldn't be strange if the original owner of this body turned into a boss. Shisheng returned to her room and changed her clothes. When it was time to eat, Uncle He called her. She didn't want to go down, but then she thought about it. The female lead was here, so she had to go down and take a look. Lunch was very sumptuous. By the time Shisheng went down, everyone had already started eating. Xiaoji, you're home? Ji Xiaoyu was surprised to see Shisheng. I'm sorry, Xiaoji. I didn't know you were home. I didn't wait for you. Shisheng pulled out a chair and glanced at Ji Xiaoyu. Without saying a word, she sat down and picked up her chopsticks to eat. Ji Xiaoyu looked at Shisheng awkwardly. Beizhe, how can you be so rude? Mother Bei glared at Shisheng. It's fine, Xiaoyu. Hurry up and eat. Ji Xiaoyu smiled at Mother Bei and began eating. Shisheng only glanced at Ji Xiaoyu, then lowered her head and continued eating. Her movements were like floating clouds and flowing water, elegant and noble. However, Ji Xiaoyu was a bit stiff. She wanted to imitate a noble's daughter, but she hadn't undergone any training. If she tried, she would end up like a dog instead of a tiger. Beizhe watched Ji Xiaoyu's movements and frowned. Ji Xiaoyu was also a bit anxious. It looked so easy for them, but why was it so difficult for her? After eating, Mother Bei left with Ji Xiaoyu. Father Bei also had work to do, so only Beizhe and Shisheng were left. Shisheng drank tea, his eyes glued to his phone. He was a bit puzzled as to why Beizhe was still sitting across from him. Beizhe, he suddenly called out. Shisheng raised her head and looked at him with a puzzled expression. What was the male lead doing? Beizhe stared at Shisheng for a long time before saying, Don't you have anything to say? What do you want to say? Should I congratulate you? We don't have a good relationship, so what's the point of saying that? Beizhe suddenly became angry and left with a gloomy expression. Shisheng, He didn't quite understand the male lead's actions. Father Bei and Mother Bei only stayed at home for 2 days. Ji Xiaoyu also stayed at the Bei residence during this time. During this time, Father Bei and Mother Bei turned a blind eye to her behavior. When they left, they even allowed Ji Xiaoyu to stay at the Bei residence. Ji Xiaoyu naturally half refused and half shyly agreed. When she moved into the Bei residence again, Ji Xiaoyu didn't want to stay on the 3rd floor. Instead, she wanted to stay on the 4th floor. Who knew that Bei Zhe would refuse on the spot, making Ji Xiaoyu feel awkward and wronged. In the end, she still stayed in her original room. The next day, early morning. Xiaoji, wait for me. Ji Xiaoyu ran out of the villa. Xiaoji, let's go to school together. Let's take Bei Zhe's car. Shisheng glanced at Ji Xiaoyu. Why is the female lead teasing me for no reason? Zhe said he has something to do today, so he wants me to take your car. Ji Xiaoyu was very confident. Her chin was slightly raised as she spoke. She was now a rich person, so she didn't need to lower herself to her. Oh, then I refuse. Shisheng opened the car door and got in, then slammed the door shut. The chauffeur immediately started the car and left. Ji Xiaoyu's face was covered in exhaust fumes. She stared at the car with an ugly expression. It was one thing to look down on her in the past, but now that she was rich, she still dared to look down on her. Ji Xiaoyu clenched her fists and turned to find the housekeeper, asking him to prepare a car for her. In the past, she was a servant. Now she was a guest. When Ji Xiaoyu arrived at the school, she just happened to see Shisheng enter the school with a youth beside him. That youth, how should she put it? He looked especially good. Even better than Bei Zhe. Several black-clothed bodyguards followed behind him, maintaining a certain distance from the youth. The youth also had a large dog by his side. The people around them all distanced themselves from them. Thus, they seemed especially conspicuous and conspicuous. Ji Xiaoyu heard the youth's name from the nearby chatter. Fu Qin. That Fu Qin who was rumored to be a legend in school. Asterisk begging for votes, 1,000 recommendation votes. Why aren't you voting? Chapter 126. Fu Qin, will you die if you squeak? Shisheng's mouth was dry from all the talking, but Fu Qin didn't respond. He was instantly enraged. Why are you torturing me so early in the morning? Fu Qin paused and tilted his head to look at Shisheng. A trace of impatience flashed across his face as he reached his hands out from his pockets. Shisheng hurriedly handed him the breakfast. He looked at the breakfast and threw it on the ground under Shisheng's gaze. I don't like it. Shisheng. System, don't stop. I want to chop him up. I've never met such a vile villain. I ran half the city to buy breakfast early in the morning, but it was ruined like this. No one has ever served me like this before. The bodyguard sensed the murderous aura and hurriedly pacified Shisheng. Miss Bei, calm down. The young master isn't in a good mood today. Let me apologize. Please don't be angry. Calm down, you have to calm down. Calm down. Calm down my ass. I have to kill him today and rid the world of evil. Hurry and take the young master away. Miss Bei, don't be rash. Shisheng was stopped by the bodyguards while Fu Qin was dragged away. Miss Bei, don't be so calculative with the young master. The young master. Sigh, it's not easy for the young master either. The bodyguard holding Shisheng back had a helpless expression. Then it's easy for me? It's a blessing that I can serve him, but he doesn't cherish it. The bodyguard hurriedly pacified her. It's not easy for Miss Bei either. But you're the only one who can make the young master eat. Even if we threaten him with our lives, the young master won't even look at us. If he wants to die, then let him die. What's the point of living? He's just a waste of air. Bodyguard. Since you want the young master to die so badly, why are you still sticking close to the young master? Shisheng was truly infuriated by Fu Qin, and was in a state of irritation for the entire day. Lin tried to talk to Shisheng several times, but every time, she was shut up with a single word. That's all for today's class. Next week we'll be going to Mount Shaoyang for an outdoor activity. Everyone, get your things ready. As soon as the teacher's voice fell, the classroom exploded. It's Mount Shaoyang again. Isn't there anything new? Teacher, can we go somewhere else? We've been there for 3 years, and I even know how many trees there are in Mount Shaoyang. The teacher glared at the student. How many trees are there in Mount Shaoyang? Tell us. Who knows? You'll have to count the trees this time. The complaining student didn't dare to say anything. The teacher cleared her throat. You're in your 3rd year of high school. You're teaching your 1st-year students as seniors. The class committee will be meeting in the office later. All right, class dismissed. Shisheng looked at the discussion in her class thoughtfully. Mount Shaoyang was another place that was prone to accidents. Chain Mission 17. Send Fu Qin to Mount Shaoyang. Shisheng was speechless. What was he supposed to do? Commit suicide? No one would find out if he killed someone and dumped their body there, right? Mount Shaoyang wasn't a single mountain, but rather a cluster of mountain peaks. However, only 2 of the peaks had been developed. The other peaks hadn't been developed yet, and there was a deep ravine between the 2 peaks. It was a good place to dump a body. Because the school had organized a trip to Mount Shaoyang, there weren't many classes for the next few days. The students were free to enter and leave the school to buy whatever they needed. Before Shisheng went shopping, he had to deal with Fu Qin, the cold-blooded maniac. Using his bodyguards, Shisheng found Fu Qin without much effort. He was sitting beside the school's artificial lake, and Changxing was lying at his feet. When she sensed someone approaching, she let out a warning growl. Fu Qin stroked Changxing's head. He didn't need to look to know who it was. Apart from her, no one else knew he was here. Shisheng sat down next to Fu Qin. Come with me to Mount Shaoyang next week. No. I'll take you to your death. Before Fu Qin could refuse, Shisheng made the first move. Don't you want to die? I'll take you to your death. Fu Qin was silent for a while, sizing up Shisheng from the corner of his eyes. Previously, he'd thought this girl was annoying. She kept appearing in front of him, and if he didn't let her, she'd threaten him with violence. She didn't seem like a girl at all. But later on, no matter how hard he tried to make things difficult for her, she'd only leave after achieving her goal, no matter how angry she was. He suspected that Uncle Jian had bribed her. Otherwise, why would he allow her to appear in front of him? Later on, he'd made things even more difficult for her. He wanted to see how long she could hold out for money. But he'd underestimated this girl. If Uncle Jian knew what Fu Qin was thinking, he'd definitely cry out that he'd been wronged. He'd tried his best to guard against betrayals, but he couldn't guard against traitors. Okay. Just as Shisheng was getting impatient, Fu Qin opened his mouth. After receiving his answer, Shisheng immediately left. She didn't want to spend another minute with this person. She was afraid that she wouldn't be able to hold herself back from killing him. The aura of death on his body made her want to kill him. Actually, Shisheng didn't have much to buy, but that girl Lin Yin insisted on dragging her to the mall. She said it was a good balance between work and rest. Lin Yin didn't dare to compliment Shisheng's strange balance between work and rest. Do I look good? Yes. What about this? Yes. Lin Yin threw a pile of clothes onto the sofa in frustration. Why are you like my dad? You go shopping with him and ask him if anything looks good. Beiji, you're a girl. Can't you act like one? Shisheng raised his head. A sinister smile suddenly appeared on his face. He reached out and pulled Lin Yin to his side. Wrapping his right hand around her shoulder, he used his other hand to lift her chin. You're so beautiful. You look good in anything. Lin Yin was stunned. She didn't react. Was she being flirted with? Why did she suddenly feel that Beiji was a little handsome? Her heart raced. It was pounding so fast. Lin Yin's face suddenly turned red. She struggled out of Shisheng's arms and stumbled towards the cashier. I'll take all of these. After paying the bill, Lin Yin's face was still a little red. Shisheng, however, acted as if nothing had happened. Lin Yin also calmed down. She rarely saw Beiji so lively when interacting with others. Most of the time, Beiji was indifferent. Occasionally, she would reveal an expression. It was either sarcastic or disdainful. She was full of thorns and made people feel intimidated. If she could see this side of her, did it mean that deep down in her heart, She already treated her as a friend? Oh, we still need to buy a tent. Xiaoji, do you have a tent? Mine broke last year. I need to buy a new one. Lin Yin had changed the way she addressed Beiji from Beiji to Xiaoji. I don't think so, Shisheng casually replied, but his gaze fell on the store opposite. Then let's go buy some. Lin Yin looked around. It's upstairs. Let's go up from there. Xiaoji, what are you looking at? Lin Yin followed Shisheng's gaze and saw two familiar figures in a sports store. Her face turned pale, and she hurriedly looked away. Come on, give me your tickets. Chapter 127. Ji Xiaoyu and Bei Zhe were shopping for sportswear. Ji Xiaoyu chose 2 sets of matching outfits, and the two changed into them. Ji Xiaoyu held Bei Zhe's hand, looking very happy. Xiaoji. Ji Xiaoyu's sharp eyes saw Shisheng standing in the corridor, and she immediately pulled Bei Zhe over. Xiaoji, you're also shopping? I wanted to ask you to come with me today, but Zhe said. Ji Xiaoyu embarrassedly stuck out her tongue, looking very cute. I didn't think we'd meet here. Why don't we eat together? Xiaoji, we still have a lot of things to buy, so we won't eat with young Master Bei. Lin Yin pulled on Shisheng's sleeve and whispered. It's okay. Zhe can help you when the time comes. Ji Xiaoyu smiled, but there was a trace of pride in her eyes. In the past, everyone in school thought that Bei Zhe and Lin Yin were a match made in heaven. But now Bei Zhe didn't like her. I don't want to eat with someone I don't like, Shisheng said indifferently. Ji Xiaoyu opened her mouth as if frightened. After a while she sadly asked, Xiaoji, you don't like me? What did I do wrong? I can change. Bei Zhe also looked at Shisheng, as if very concerned about this answer. I don't like you. Shisheng was about to say something when his phone suddenly rang. Miss Bei, it's really you. That's great. I'm on the 5th floor. You can see me if you look up. Young master is throwing a tantrum here. Can I trouble you to come up? I'm not his nanny. Shisheng hung up without thinking. The other side didn't give up and called again. Shisheng directly turned off his phone. Let's go. Shisheng looked at Lin Yin. She didn't want the bodyguards to come down and arrest them. Xiaoji. Ji Xiaoyu suddenly grabbed Shisheng. I know I may not do well in many areas, but I will learn. I hope you can teach me in the future. Let go. Xiaoji. Shisheng caught a glimpse of a few bodyguards rushing down from the elevator. She took advantage of the opportunity to shake off Ji Xiaoyu. Perhaps she had used too much strength, but Ji Xiaoyu fell to the ground. Ah! Ji Xiaoyu cried out in pain. Beiji! Bei Zhe shouted. He quickly helped Ji Xiaoyu up from the ground. Are you hurt anywhere? Ji Xiaoyu glanced at her foot. Her forehead was covered in cold sweat. I might have sprained my foot. It's not a big deal. Don't blame Xiaoji. Beiji, stop right there. Seeing that Shisheng was about to leave, Bei Zhe shouted again. His voice was very loud, and the people around them all looked over. On the other side, the bodyguards had also arrived and blocked Shisheng's escape route. Ms. Bei, please help us out. Come with us. The bodyguards surrounded Shisheng without giving her any chance to protest. Lin Yin looked at the bodyguards strangely. Weren't they young Master Fu's bodyguards? Shisheng furrowed her brows in annoyance. Seeing Bei Zhe and Ji Xiaoyu looking over, she decided to go take a look at the villain who wanted to die. Ji Xiaoyu's attitude made her feel a bit uncomfortable. On the 5th floor, several salespeople were huddled in a corner. The floor was a mess, and all kinds of clothes were strewn everywhere. And in the middle of that mess sat a young man. 2 black-clothed bodyguards stood next to the young man. They were trying to persuade him, but the young man remained unmoved. He lowered his eyes and looked at the floor. The 2 bodyguards were helpless. The young master had suddenly lost his temper. The salespeople were so scared that they almost called the police. Recently, the young master's temper had become more and more unstable. He would lose his temper without any warning. Moreover, he wouldn't eat. If the housekeeper hadn't asked someone to hold the young master down and feed him nutrient fluids, the young master would have died long ago. Miss Bei. The 2 bodyguards were racking their brains to persuade Fu Qin. When they saw Shisheng enter, their faces lit up and they stepped aside. What's wrong with him? Why did he come to someone else's department store to lose his temper? Was he seriously ill? The bodyguard told him what had happened. But as they walked, Fu Qin suddenly stopped walking. He walked straight in and sat down. No matter how they tried to persuade him, he wouldn't leave. When they tried to take him away by force, he started smashing things. The mess in the shop was all his fault. Shisheng walked over. Fu Qin slowly turned his head. Something flashed in front of his eyes. Then he felt a sharp pain in his neck and his vision turned dark. The bodyguards were dumbfounded. This was too simple and crude. What's the point of keeping you? Shisheng supported Fu Qin. What are you looking at me for? Don't you want your young master anymore? If you don't want him, I'll throw him away. The stunned bodyguards were awakened by Shisheng's words. They rushed forward to protect their young master. If Miss Bai said she would throw him away, then she really might. Thank you, Miss Bai. The bodyguards politely thanked Shisheng. They weren't Miss Bai. How would they dare to touch Fu Qin? If Miss Bai was here today, they would probably have to wait for Uncle Jian to come. Even if Uncle Jian came, he might not be able to do anything. If they used violence, young master would only be waiting for death when he woke up. Don't let him out for no reason. Letting him out would only bring disaster to others. The bodyguards were speechless. How was this a matter of whether or not they let him go? After dealing with Fu Qin, Shisheng walked out. Bai Zai and Ji Xiaoyu were among the crowd. Bai Zai's complexion wasn't too good. Perhaps it was because he was angered just now. Ji Xiaoyu curiously looked inside. Xiaoji, you know young Master Fu? Lin Yin's face was full of curiosity. She didn't look as depressed as before. Instead, she looked worried. You actually knocked young Master Fu unconscious. He might cause trouble for you when he wakes up. He wouldn't dare. Shisheng gritted his teeth. Lin Yin was frightened by Shisheng's sinister expression. She was speechless for a while. When they returned to the villa, Shisheng was stopped by Bai Zai. How do you know Fu Qin? Bai Zai asked directly. Shisheng was baffled. What does that have to do with you? I'm still your older brother. Bai Zai emphasized the word older brother. It was as if he was reminding Shisheng, but also reminding himself. So what? Even if he's my older brother, he can't control who I interact with or who I know, right? Shisheng sized up Bai Zai without batting an eyelid. This male lead couldn't have liked the original owner, right? Shisheng's eyes turned. He suddenly took a step forward and placed his hand on Bai Zai's chest. His voice was sweet and clear. Older brother, what are you thinking about? Through the material of his shirt, she could feel Bai Zai's heartbeat quicken. His entire body stiffened and his jaw clenched. Shisheng retracted his hand. His face was colored with an indescribable emotion. Unfortunately, it's too late. That girl called Beiji was dead. She would never know that the person she liked used to like her back. It's not too late, Bai Zai blurted out. Shisheng glanced at him and shook his head slightly. A trace of a smile appeared on his face. It's too late. Asterisk, was the ticket high? Chapter 128. Ever since their tacit exchange that day, Bai Zai hadn't been seen for several days. Only when the school was about to set off for the MT Xiaoyang event did Bai Zai appear. Shisheng stood outside the car and called Fu Qin. But Fu Qin rejected her call and turned off his phone. Shisheng held up the phone, her expression rapidly changing. Death was too easy for him. She wanted him to suffer a fate worse than death. Shisheng changed the number and called Fu Qin's bodyguard. This time, the call went through quickly. Where's Fu Qin? Didn't he want to die? He's already booked the ticket and he's regretting it? Tell him that we don't accept refunds. Tell him to hurry over. Miss Bai, where are you taking young master? Uncle Jian's voice came from the other end. Shisheng was stunned. She looked at the name on her phone. It was indeed a bodyguard, but why did the housekeeper pick up? To MT Xiaoyang. Shisheng answered honestly. For what? To look at the stars, the moon, and talk about life. Shisheng made up a random excuse. Before Uncle Jian could answer, a static noise came from the other end. Then she heard Fu Qin's voice come through the phone. He said two simple words, school gate. Fuck. Shisheng's face darkened. She stuffed her phone back into her pocket and told the teacher in charge to stop at the school gate. After counting the number of people, the school bus slowly drove out of the school gate. Shisheng's car stopped at the gate. Everyone was puzzled. Shisheng, who was sitting in the front row, stood up and got out of the car. I think it's young Master Fu. Where is he? The people on the bus immediately became excited and squeezed to the side of the car. Fu Qin stood alone under a large tree outside the school gate. The white-clothed youth was handsome and spirited. The breeze was cool, and the sun was mottled. Time seemed to stop in that instant. The youth's silhouette was like a painting. It really is young Master Fu. Is young Master Fu going too? Is Chongqing here? I didn't see him. I only saw young Master Fu. When did Beiji and young Master Fu get so close? Beiji led Fu Qin into the car. The car was instantly silent. Many people looked behind Fu Qin. When they confirmed that Chongqing's enormous body wasn't there, they all breathed a collective sigh of relief. Chongqing, that fellow, was terrifying just by looking at him. Fu Qin was also a senior in high school, so the teacher naturally recognized him. Seeing him come up, the teacher didn't say anything and had the car start up again. When they arrived at MT Shaoyang, the people in the other cars saw Fu Qin and turned to look at him. When Beizhe saw Fu Qin and Shisheng standing together, his expression darkened. Now we will divide into groups. Seniors, take care of the juniors. Those who are in the same group, stand in your own group, the teacher shouted through the loudspeaker. Then the classes began to divide into groups. Based on the class, those who drew the same number were in a group. There weren't many people in a class. The largest class was only 30 people. Therefore, there were only 50 to 60 people in a team. As the place where the male and female protagonists increased their relationship, the male and female protagonists were naturally assigned to the same class. Shisheng looked at Beizhe sympathetically. Previously, she always felt that Beizhe was crazy when he yelled at her for no reason. So it was because he liked the host. The plot didn't mention this at all, but if you looked closely, you'd find that the author had vaguely described the complicated look in Beizhe's eyes when he looked at Beiji. The author probably wanted to write that Beizhe actually liked Beiji, and used that to torture the male and female protagonists. But in the end, she didn't even have time to use that hidden line. She wasn't as suicidal as the host, so she didn't erase Beizhe's feelings for Beiji. Therefore, she didn't need to do anything. This couple would soon collapse. After dividing into groups, the first task was to climb the mountain. The first group to reach the peak would be rewarded with a sumptuous dinner. There were several paths leading up MT Shaoyang, and each group could choose their own path. The final gathering point was at the mountain's resort. Shisheng's class chose a path that wasn't easy to walk, but it was relatively short. At first, these people could still persevere, but soon, they were crying for their parents and making a fuss. Shisheng and Fu Qin were at the back. Fu Qin's body seemed to be weak. His face was pale, and he walked very slowly. Shisheng had no choice but to slow down in order to cooperate with him. Beizhe and Ji Xiaoyu had also fallen behind at some point. They were only a few meters away from them. Shisheng could hear Ji Xiaoyu's coquettish voice. "Zhe, let's rest for a bit." Ji Xiaoyu panted, fanning herself with her hands. Beizhe glanced back at Shisheng and nodded slightly. Ji Xiaoyu immediately took out a bottle of water from her backpack and handed it to Beizhe. "Zhe, drink some water." Fu Qin raised his head and looked in Ji Xiaoyu's direction. Ji Xiaoyu just so happened to see Fu Qin looking at her. She immediately smiled. "Senior Fu Qin, do you want some water?" Fu Qin frowned and turned his head away, ignoring Ji Xiaoyu. Ji Xiaoyu awkwardly rubbed her ears and looked innocently at Beizhe. "Xiaoji didn't bring anything. We'll be staying on the mountain for several days. What will she do?" "What does it have to do with you whether or not I brought anything?" Shisheng immediately retorted. "Ji Xiaoyu, just take care of yourself. Don't drag me into this, okay?" She didn't even want to get close to them, so how could they drag her into this topic? "I don't have any other intentions. I'm just worried about you." Ji Xiaoyu's expression was very innocent. "Why are you worried about me? I'm not the one you're with." You know I don't like you, yet you're still trying to get close to me. Ji Xiaoyu, I think you want to die. Shi Sheng's tone turned sinister as he spoke. Xiaoji, how can you say that? We're classmates, and you're Zay's little sister. It's only right for me to care about you. Don't worry about me. I'm afraid I won't be able to hold myself back from killing you. Shi Sheng smiled evilly. We're in the middle of nowhere. It's best if you don't provoke me. Otherwise. Ji Xiaoyu's face paled and she looked at Bei Zai for help. Bei Zai's gaze was deep. It was unknown what he was thinking, but he didn't pay attention to Ji Xiaoyu. The atmosphere suddenly turned heavy. Ji Xiaoyu bit her lip and looked angrily at Shi Sheng once more. However, she met Shi Sheng's gaze. In that instant, she felt a chill run down her spine. She felt as if she was being watched by something without a mechanism, ready to take her life at any moment. Water. Fu Qin looked at Shi Sheng and broke the strange atmosphere. Shi Sheng retracted his gaze and continued walking with Fu Qin. When the two people behind them couldn't see them anymore, Shi Sheng took out a bottle of water and handed it to Fu Qin. Fu Qin calmly accepted it. He wasn't the least bit curious about Shi Sheng's actions of taking things out of thin air. The two of them walked and stopped. Just as they were about to reach the top of the mountain, they caught up with the rest of the group. Once they reached the top of the mountain, the first group to arrive could go to the teacher to get a room card. Because there were too many people, there weren't enough rooms in the holiday villa. Therefore, two people could only share a room. In order to prevent him from being assigned to the same room as the female lead, Shi Sheng specially requested to share a room with Lin Yin. We're going to dump the corpse tomorrow. Are you excited? Vote. Give me a tip. I don't refuse anyone. She impulsively kicked Fu Qiong down again. Damn your grandpa. Why is it so troublesome to die? Fu Qin once again experienced falling from a great height. This time it wasn't as uncomfortable as before. When the iron sword caught him, he didn't faint either. Shi Sheng escorted Fu Qin back to his room, then strolled around the room Ji Xiaoyu had left. The next day, Shi Sheng asked some students who had woken up early, but none of them knew who lived in the house. She hacked into the back end of the hotel and found out who was staying there. Gao Anlang, the person whose vitals had been injured by the original owner. The main target of her revenge. Because she had too few resources at her disposal, she didn't make a move even though she had information on Gao Anlang. She couldn't afford to provoke the Gao family. How did he know Ji Xiaoyu? System, there was something wrong with this. The storyline can only be used as a reference. Developments inside might not necessarily follow the storyline. Host, you should have noticed that every world isn't dead. The people inside are all alive and have their own thoughts. An intelligent NPC? An intelligent NPC that doesn't listen to instructions? So the storyline was just a way to give out the main mission. Everything else wasn't that useful? I really can't teach this host. Master, can you go on strike? The storyline is just a decoration in the host's eyes. Since Gao Anlang and Ji Xiaoyu knew each other, regardless of what happened in the storyline, the current situation definitely wasn't good. Gao Anlang had a belly full of evil tricks at a young age. He ate, drank, and gambled. Moreover, he especially liked young and pretty girls. Because of the Gao family's power and influence, he could do whatever he wanted. Xiaoji, Lin Yin called out to Shi Sheng from afar, interrupting her train of thought. Why are you up so early? The teachers haven't even woken up yet. You didn't sleep well? Lin Yin had 2 dark circles under her eyes. Even though she had put on makeup, it was still visible. Lin Yin's small face fell. Ji Xiaoyu kept snoring and drooling last night. There's only one bed in the room, so I slept on the sofa for the night. Thinking about last night's experience, Lin Yin couldn't recall it. It was definitely torture. You should rest for a while. I'll get you breakfast. Beauties need to be in their best condition at all times. Shi Sheng teased Lin Yin, then turned around and went to the hotel's breakfast area. When he came back with breakfast, Lin Yin had already fallen asleep on the table. Shi Sheng ate by herself first. When more people arrived, Lin Yin was woken up by the noise and gobbled down her breakfast. After breakfast, they gathered together. Today they were going to enter the mountains for a few days of wilderness exploration. The senior students naturally didn't listen to the things that the teacher was talking about. They were only talking about it for the freshmen. When Shisheng returned to his room to pack up, he ran into Uncle Jian and Fu Qin's bodyguards. Uncle Jian glared at Shisheng, then reluctantly handed over a box to Shisheng. This box contains the young master's usual medicine. Uncle Jian rattled off a bunch of things to take note of. Chain Mission 18. Stay with Fu Qin in the wilderness. The system gave him the mission first. It was only responsible for bringing him here. It wasn't responsible for his daily needs. System, you're forcing me to tear you apart. He glanced at the box in Uncle Jian's hand, then reluctantly took it. Miss Bei, I'll have to trouble you with the young master, Uncle Jian suddenly said in a serious tone. Shisheng, say, what are you looking at? We have to go. Ji Xiaoyu followed Bei Zai's gaze. There were only a few black-clothed bodyguards, and no one else. But, were those senior Fu Qin's bodyguards? It's nothing. Let's go. Bei Zai took the box from Ji Xiaoyu's hand and walked outside. Ji Xiaoyu glanced in that direction a few more times. She looked at Bei Zai's figure, and in the end, she trotted after him. The group once again split into several teams, each with 3 teachers. They entered the mountains in batches. The path into the mountain was even more difficult than the path up the mountain. As the child of a poor family, Ji Xiaoyu was able to display her advantage at this time. Even when a large number of girls were crying for their parents and supporting each other, Ji Xiaoyu was still in high spirits. Towards the end, the boys couldn't hold on any longer. Let's rest for a while first, the leading teacher said. The group didn't care about their image and sat down on the ground. The pitiful system. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.